Welcome. Yeah, we are here. Thank you. Made it to Friday. Pour yourself one. There you go. There you go. And we are still waiting to find out what is going to go on in Green Bay as far as their head coach goes. And I have not heard anything specific, although we believe now the hang-up is exactly what we discussed earlier this week. It's years. It's not necessarily money. It's more years than anything. So at least that's what we're being led to believe. So now you just kind of wait and see if they're able to kind of pound it out in Green Bay to either retain. I mean, they've showed their hand. I mean, Tom Silverstein had a terrific article where basically it says, yeah, the Packers want him back, but their belief. And if I'm Matt LaFleur, let me say this. There's something that has to be said for Matt LaFleur going into these negotiations and in his agency. And I'll talk about that coming up because there has to be we always talk about reality on this show. There's wants, wishes, thoughts, conspiracy theories, and then there's reality. And we have to talk about reality. In the meantime, the Milwaukee Bucks losing. And I did a piece yesterday, and I didn't talk about it on the air. I just did it off on Instagram and Facebook. And it got crazy. Why does anything get crazy whenever you talk about somebody speaking out about something other than sports? It just gets crazy. But the Bucks fall again. I've said all along Doc Rivers isn't the dude. He's not the guy. And still looks to me not to be the guy. And was downtown last night talking to a few people who are basketball hounds, we'll say. And they say the exact same thing. So at least my knowledge in that particular area is not crazy. We will be talking with, coming up bottom of the hour, Jim Ozarski of the Journal-Sentinel join us and make his weekly visit. Jim's been busy, so we're going to squeeze him in today. Mike Clemens, final hour of the show today. So we have all that coming up. The divisional round is about ready to get underway. The divisional round is about ready to get underway. And I'm excited for football this weekend. I'm on Saturday and Sunday when NFL football is being played. That's when it's like, that's when it's like a death in the family, that's when you start going, oh, I'm supposed to be at a stadium. I'm supposed to be covering that this weekend. And yeah, it's not there. So I'm kind of easing into that. Now, I'm looking forward to not a whole lot going on. I can relax a little bit, but still just crazy that I cannot believe that they're still there, that they're not there, I should say. So all of that, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to give us a shout? Do it. We would love to hear from you, 877-867-1670. Also, you want to find us via text message? You can, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. You can watch us each and every day on YouTube, and a lot of people do. I did a marketing, kind of a networking thing last night down at the UW Panther Arena, and then went over to the Panther game after the fact and saw that for a little bit. Oakland, boy, they got off to a big lead early on. They were up by 11 or 14 at one point in that ball game. Oakland was, and they were shooting the lights out, and UWM couldn't get anything going. And finally, when they did, they got a little bit into foul trouble in the first half. So anyway, we'll get into that. But did that. And I tell you what, a lot of people come up and say they watch the program on YouTube, so which is great, and on the Wisco Sports Zone, which is fantastic. So we appreciate that. Wisco Sports Zone is our app. Wisco Sports Zone. So Wisco Sports Zone. You can find us there. Always love having you. 877-867-1670. Again, that's the phone number. You can also track us down on X if you choose to do so. On Twitter. At Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Find Grant at Wisco Grant. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The Bill Michaels Show is what you look for. The Bill Michaels Show. Same thing on, like I had mentioned, on the Twitch app, the Kick app, the LinkedIn app, our app, Wisco Sports Zone. You can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. The website simply thebillmichaels.com. And then we are a television show tomorrow night, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock Central Time on My 24 TV. Yeah, last night, Oakland ended up knocking off UWM. 73-60, and they just could never they got within 6, I think, at one point, and they could just never get over the top. They go to 8-11 on the season. Speaking of a little bit of a turnaround, have you noticed in Green Bay, they've got a winning record now? They get a win last night, 88-73. just so you know. They're 11-8, 6-2 in a Horizon League play. So kudos to Doug Gottlieb for what people said was going to be just an absolute disaster. They're starting to turn things around. So kudos to them. There you go. So I think that's our rundown for today. Might be the best way to put it. So hopefully it's a Friday. It's kind of snowy, but you're safe. We're sound. We're good to go. Graham Bills, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. We got a loaded studio this morning. Kate and Austin were both here. Ebo.
Yeah.
And I didn't slide off the road on the way in, so no complaints.
That's good. That's good. Now, is it still snowing out there?
I think it's down now.
Yeah. It was kind of efforting towards being done in this area as well. So I'm kind of hoping that it is. So after the show, I'll go out and I'll snowblow my driveway and call it a day, because that way I'll be done with it. Because today's the only day. If you think about warmer weather, this is it. Enjoy today. Because for like the next 10, it's hide the naughty bits kind of days. That's for sure. It's going to be cold, like really frigid. Over the weekend is going to be bitterly cold. So, get everything you need to do outside done today, because that's it for sure. I'm feeling kind of festive today in the spirit. I've got my Super Bowl gear on today. I started going through my closet, and I think I have like 11. I usually buy a Super Bowl pullover, a quarter zip. And this was one that I did not go and buy. Kristen, I think I don't know which one this was. I'd have to look and see what the number is, but she went and bought this one for me. So I think I've worn this thing twice. So she's like, why don't you wear that today? So, okay, I'll wear it today. But I started going through and I've got all my Super Bowl quarter zips all lined up now. So getting ready for the jaunt. 2 weeks from tomorrow. 2 weeks from tomorrow, we leave. So we're counting down the days until we head off to San Francisco, which, by the way, she says, well, at least you're going to be by the beach and it'll be nice and it'll be warm. Did you see the weather forecast? They don't get out of the 60s. No, don't get me wrong. It's mid 60s and 40s at night.
I'll take 60s and sunny.
I'll
wear a sweater, a cardigan,
yeah,
a light jacket even. I'm down.
It's Northern California. It's not Southern California. It's not like out in L.A. where everybody's still sitting at Santa Monica Pier laying on the beach. That's not it. So anyway, but look, I'm not going to complain about 65 degrees. I'll tell you that right damn now. That's for sure. So a lot coming up today in that sense. Here's one thing that I thought about. I was reading Tom, and you sent it to me. You sent me a link to it too. Tom Silverstein's article. The Matt LaFleur is wanting the security. He wants to be, hey, give me a 5-year extension, $15 million a year. Here we go. Okay. He wants that security. My question to Matt LaFleur would be, have you earned it? The majority, I don't know if I can say the majority. I don't know. But a lot of fans don't even want you as the head coach. They've been there. They've done that. They've seen it. It's wash, rinse, repeat. They don't want you here. They've seen the collapses. There's questions about the team being soft from inside and outside. They don't want you here. And so he's either trying to play hardball to say, okay, then get me out of here, to say, well, it's not my fault I'm not here because they didn't want me. Or he's wanting the longevity, the security. But if you literally understand pay for play, and you're a man, and you stand up and say, here's my positives, here's my negatives. Pay me a little more money. Don't give me as long a term deal, but because it'll still show you can get rid of me if you want to. But he's looking for the security for inside the locker room, and I understand that. But if they give him, instead of a 5-year deal, if they give him a 3-year deal, that's not terrible. That's a 4-year total. They can still get out of it. It's not a ton of money. It is, but it isn't. But they can still get out of it. If you're walking around going, I want a 5-year deal, I want security, I want this and I want that. No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Because this franchise is not about getting to the postseason. This franchise is about winning the division and making that almost cliche, and then getting the Super Bowls. Now, do we feel like we're spoiled? Yeah. I can go with that. I can go along with that. Yeah, no problem. But I think that this team has proven that they can go all in, and I think part of the hindrance was play calling. That's your job. Toughness, second half, collapses. That's your job. So if it's coming down to, hey, I want 5 years, we're going to start shopping you around and trade you. we're going to let you go. So in Tom Silverstein's column, he said an agent said LaFleur might be trying to get 15 to 17 million per year, which would put him in the second tier of highest paid coaches behind Kansas City's Andy Reid, the Giants' John Harbaugh, Denver's Sean Payton, according to another agent who tracks some head coaching salaries. And we all know after the Baltimore Ravens, they fired Harbaugh. Mike Tomlin, I should say, is gone. A little bit stuffed up today, so you have to kind of forgive me. Anyway, that being said, those believed to be in the second tier, making more than $15 million, like Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Jim Harbaugh out in L.A., the next tier might be 13 to 15. Okay, if that's what it is. But the few years LaFleur takes, the higher the salary would be. And the agent who thought the minimum number of years he should settle for is 3, maybe it's not about the money. Maybe it's more about the years and the security. But the 5 straight losses and a pair of blown leads against divisional rival Chicago, I don't blame Ed Policy and Brian Gutekunst to say, wait a minute. We saw a team go out and play extremely well in the first half. You admit they made adjustments that you couldn't figure out in the second half, and we watched your team collapse. How does that warrant $15 million plus a year and a 5-year deal? It doesn't. So if Matt LaFleur, again, going back, his agent is wanting the max, but there's a level of reality to this. And we talk about reality all the time. There's a level of reality to this. And look, he did a lot with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, terrific quarterback. Towards the end, we all knew it was ready to be done. Okay. But there was a lot of winning then, and there's not a lot of winning going on right now. You're above 500. You're above mediocrity. But how do you walk in and say, I want to be in the top 2 tier of pay, plus I want a 5-year contract extension?
I guess the question is, do you think he would get that if he was a free agent on the open market? Do you
Somebody
think another team would
like it?
There you go.
Yeah,
but I mean, for that, would someone give him top dollar, top term to come coach their team?
And
because that's the market.
That's his leverage. Is if you're not going to give it to me, somebody else will. Just let me go. And maybe there's a team out there that would say, hey, we'll make you a trade if you decide not to sign him. Maybe the phone's starting to ring a little bit in Ed Policy's office. Who knows? But Harbaugh's off the market. You would assume they're committed to Matt LaFleur being here next year. It's just, how long do you want him here? If the failures persist, and we've seen it now in 3-4 straight years. So I get what, if that's what the holdup is, I understand it. But if I'm Matt LaFleur, the only reason I'm holding the cards, if it's truly, and as much as he says it's truly about coaching the Green Bay Packers in this franchise, if it's truly about that, you take less years, you prove yourself again, and you go. That's what a man does. If you want them to guarantee you stuff, so if they fire you because you're inept, that's a coward's way out, man. That's it. I mean, I get if somebody else is knocking on your door saying, hey, we'll give you 5 years, then maybe the Packers just go, okay, we're going to trade you away. Talk to you later. We're not. And move on. We asked the question yesterday, what would fans feel if they kept Matt LaFleur? And it was a very, very, very mixed group. Some say keep him, but strip him of play calling, make him hire other people, which basically strips him. Others just want him out. There's a handful of people that responded that said they want to keep him. Now, I think that's still a pretty good majority of people, and I still think people appreciate what he's done for the Green Bay Packers. But there is a very loud, I don't know if they're majority or minority, there's a very loud group that don't want to see him as the head coach anymore. What they saw in Chicago was unacceptable. Unacceptable. So I don't know. I don't know where this thing's going to fall. I get a feeling that instead of a 3-year extension, they'll come to a 4-year extension. 4 years, 15, 16 million a year, and then kind of go from there. Or do you give him more money and less years and say, well, look, we'll go 20 million. Here you go. But, we'll go 17, 18 million, but we're not going 5 years. We'll pay you more money, but we're not going to go 5 years. We'll go 3. And then we'll revisit it in a couple of years. And that, to me, I think that's fair. And if we see the same collapse again next year and the same things happen, then it's not killing you. if you decide to say, you know what, can't do it, cutting them loose. Cutting them loose. I mean, Ron Wolf pulled the trigger on Ray Rhodes after a season. He signed a 4-year deal, and after a season, that was it. I've seen enough. Talk to you later. So it's not unprecedented that they couldn't sign a guy and then can him the very next year, because this franchise has done it. If it's not going to be a winning projection to where this team is going to continue to ascend, they'll move on. They'll move on. So I don't know what, it says, quote, you don't get to hedge your bets. Matt has some leverage here. He's going to want a deal where he can coach knowing he's not going to get fired. There's no coach in the National Football League that doesn't understand that you could be fired today for whatever reason.
But I think that's the way he wants this contract set up, because I think the Packers would love to run this back healthy next year,
right,
and then have the flexibility to make a move. And Matt LaFleur is saying, well, no, we're going to do this contract in such a way where you financially, that won't be feasible for you, because right, I'm going to have 45 to 60 million guaranteed dollars on the books for 3 or 4 more years after next year that you would have to eat if you want to cut me loose.
Right. So I just I can't. I'd go 4 years. If you're arguing over a year, I'd give him an extra year. I want 3. He probably wants 5. I'd go 4 and call it a day. Handshake it out the door. But I'm not committing to 5 years. No way. And Matt has to understand, you got to show more. This isn't about wins and losses in the regular season. This is about taking that next step. And this team has regressed. Jordan Love has grown, but a lot of people believe he's hit like a ceiling right now. He's got to go to that next level. The offense looks inept. Take the shotgun, go on down the road if you don't like it. You're just running out of shotgun all day long. All that. I don't know. I'm that's just me, but I'm like, if he's asking for 4 or 5 years and you're only offering 2 to 3, maybe you go the 1 extra year, but that's about all I would do. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. We got more coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in the Bill Michaels Show. We continue on this portion of it. Brought to you by our good friends at Potawatomi Sports Bar, Casino, Sports Book, restaurants, music, thumping, clubs, bands, hotels. They got it all. Everything under one roof. That is Potawatomi Sports Book. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. Paysbig.com. It's Potawatomi Sports Book. There you go. There's all kinds of reaction pouring in. So here's my question. What would you do? What would you do? Seriously, what would you do? If this is from James. James says, if I am the Green Bay Packers, I look at Matt LaFleur and I say, here's a 3-year contract extension at $18 million a year, take it or leave it. If he decides to say, I don't want this, then I immediately let him know I'm going to start shopping him. He talks about how great the franchise is. This is a dream come true. If it's a dream come true, then you will do anything to stay there. And if you're a man, you say, okay, it's pay for play, much like you stated. If I win, then I get a contract extension. If I don't, then I get fired. You understand what you are as a head coach in the National Football League. Everybody wants security, but asking for more security than what you deserve to this point is something ridiculous. How big of an ego does Matt LaFleur have to think that he deserves a 5-year deal, $15+ million a year? That's from James. James, thanks for the email. Again, I get where Ed Policy's at. Ed Policy's, he's got legit. He's looking now. He's looking at it going, what I just saw this year is unacceptable. What I saw last year, unacceptable. I've been here 12 years. Some NFC Championship games, you did a fantastic job coming in, working with Aaron, getting that thing back on track. Absolutely. Then we saw foreshadowing for some failures. Those things weren't corrected. We saw play calling that, why? Let me ask you this, Grant. I listened to all the pundits, and Matt LaFleur is becoming a hot topic because nothing has come out of 1265 yet. Why is Matt LaFleur considered one of the best play callers in the National Football League?
I think he is. I think his offense is proven with 2 quarterbacks in years now. I don't think the issue on Saturday night, looking back, and if you go back and look at cut-ups and read people, I don't think the issue was play calling. I don't think their O-line was executing. And I don't think some of the wide receivers were catching the ball.
I agree with that.
Specifically as an offensive coordinator, a play designer, a schemer, or are you talking about play sequencing and calling plays over the course of a game? I
look at the inordinate amount of shotgun. I look at things that worked 2 years ago that he doesn't even run anymore or doesn't run so incredibly infrequently. If you go back and you start looking at film of Jordan Love in the second half of his first season, and he cut the field in half and he was rolling them out and he was moving around in the pocket and a lot of motion, and they still do motion, but it was Jordan Love under center, and he mixed it up. And they got away from it. I don't know if that's what they're being told to do, but I start to look at this and I look at the percentage, and I understand people want to go, well, they're not the highest percentage out of shotgun. I get that. But for the way the offense flowed, we talked about Matt LaFleur, just brilliant play calling, brilliant game plan. He's got those moments where it just flows. And there are times where it doesn't flow. And so it's shotgun, stand back there, fake delayed handoff. There's nothing play action about it. He wants to argue with you what play action is. And, he's got movement and motion, and some guys are going to drop passes and such, and I get that. But there's nothing there where you go, oh, wow, okay, that was a hell of a play call in that particular situation. You don't get that. We didn't get that in the second half of this ball game.
I think so. He explained the shotgun as they couldn't protect off the edges, especially the left side, because Rasheed Walker was playing miserable football. So that was their counterpunch. I think if Rasheed Walker has an average game, they score another touchdown or two. Probably. And there are a bunch of those plays. I think there were guys open. I think Musgrave to start the second half was open. They had guys open, and Rasheed Walker. I'm so angry at Rasheed Walker. I think he nuclear bombed the second half of that game with how he played. He was awful. I think that was a big part of the reason why a lot of these play calls, on the shotgun, which wasn't what they were doing in the first half, but a lot of these play calls just didn't work because of that. They couldn't protect, which is, if you want to put that on the floor, that's a theme in playoff losses. That good linemen or good lines tend to go in the toilet. Yeah.
And again, I get where you're coming from. I just saw nothing. I didn't see anything. Now, you can even talk about the quarterback, which we did. You can even talk about the quarterback play and being very quick to get rid of the ball and just throw it away, as opposed to moving around in the pocket or moving up or trying to, go to the opposite side. I mean, Booker was handling Musgrave and company too. So it wasn't like you could just say, hey, we'll run to the opposite side. But I've watched that game now 3 times. The second half was a drastically different call than the first half. Yes, they got their ass handed to them. And you could see where guys were moving around and they were stunting a little bit more and doing certain things. But again, I go back to, do you not see this coming? What changed with Rasheed Walker? And did he just say, you know what? I'm not going to play in the second half. To hell with it. Or maybe he got banged up or something. I don't know. But he got his ass handed to him, but there was no crashing down double teams or bringing in an extra lineman, it was very stale. It was very stale. And we saw it and you could feel it. But to me, when and I watched the All 22, I've seen that one time and I've seen the game broadcast twice. Tell me, walking up and down that sideline, looking at Matt LaFleur when they kept panning to him, tell me he doesn't look like he doesn't have answers. He doesn't. He's just walking up and down. He's like shaking his head. And there was 2 or 3 times they cut to him and I'm thinking to myself, this guy doesn't have an answer. He doesn't have an answer for it. So again, they keep talking about being this great play caller. He probably is, if that's all he has to do, I guess. But I don't get the fascination because we've seen the collapses here. We saw the collapse in Cleveland. We saw the bad clock management. And the only one that really kind of got on him was Chris Ganty. I was listening to Chris Ganty saying, why is everybody praising this guy? And he talks about the same thing. He said he's got his ass handed to him, couldn't figure it out in Cleveland, couldn't figure out the clock in Dallas, couldn't figure out the clock down in Chicago. He's like, why is everybody praising this guy? He's a terrible clock manager. Just ripping the hell out of him. And I'm thinking to myself, everybody thinks he's so great and he's got so many job offers that would be out there. People would be willing to pay him. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, maybe the Packers let him go. Let him go. See if he can take another franchise to a different level and bring somebody else in that just a fresh face and a fresh set of ideas and 5 years and security and go in a different direction. I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm saying maybe just a change for the sake of change might be good, but I don't see it. I just don't. 877-867-1670. Let's do this. We're going to change the horse in the midstream here for a second because we want to talk to Jim Ozarski. A lot of different stuff regarding Jim. Obviously, the Bucs got it handed to him again. The Doc Rivers thing, speaking out and alienating a lot of people. And I don't know why management does that, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And it's not about people made it about politics again yesterday. It's like, stop. That you're missing the complete point. Why would you allow somebody to alienate half your fan base? So all of that going on. So don't go anywhere. We've got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We got our play, guys. We generated. Let me say this: before the game, if you had told us we shot 48 threes, what would you have thought? Yeah, and we probably won the game. We didn't make them. The fouling and the missed threes, long rebounds got them out running. That hurt us, but the fouling killed us.
Doc Rivers last night Bucks beaten again. Welcome back to the program. All of our guests appear on the Schneider Big Orange Hotline. Schneider hiring drivers right now. Call them 844-PRIDE or go to SchneiderJobs.com. 844-PRIDE or go to SchneiderJobs.com. And don't forget, if you're looking for a new team to drive for, maybe just a new career in 2026, they can help you out. They can get you your CDL and have a job waiting for you by the time it's all said and done. So some great people over there at Schneider. Joining us on the hotline, our guy, Jim Ozarski. And Jim, I don't even know where to start at this point. It just hasn't been kind of flowing for the Bucks, might be the best way to put it. They've lost, 4 of their last 5, and not in good fashion over the last couple. They've kind of been blown out. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, Bill, they finally, it didn't look great, but they had won 5 of 7,
right.
and finally got some wins on the road. And this thing is just, hit another, pothole these last 2 nights to get booed at home. And then Giannis boos the fans right back, right, and gets emotional on the bench. And then to follow that up with, just whatever that was in San Antonio, where they played well for 14 minutes maybe. And then, the starters are getting benched again. And, the team was very frustrated after that Minnesota loss. Obviously, Giannis, very emotional and taking it personally that the home fans were booing. And I will say this, I guess somebody should take something personally, Bill, right? Like, right. I think it shows, I think some people positioned it as, the fans turning on their star or their star turning on. I don't think it was that. I think you and I know, Bill, who the fans were booing,
yep.
What they were booing, not Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? But he actually told me in San Antonio, Bill, he's like, well, I'm on the team. Like, and so I think that's an important thing here for fans to realize, and I guess even national media, Bill, like Giannis kind of took one for his coach, for his teammates there, right? Like I think he inherently knows, he's not the focus of any ire of Milwaukee fans. Obviously they weren't booed in San Antonio, but again, another lackluster performance. And I don't know, we're at the halfway point, Bill. Monday is game 42. They can't keep doing this, even though it was that cut you played. I asked Doc about pressure and, feeling some kind of way about this. And he was just like, we got 41 games left. It's like, okay,
right.
That's one way to take it.
Is Doc losing that locker room?
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because the guys do believe that they're a good team and they're close. Now, fans are listening, you're listening, wait, they're delusional. They're 7 games under 500. I haven't seen anything to show they're a good team other than some brief flashes. I have talked to a couple of guys that it feels like they are doing or the concepts are correct. Now, then you get a comment like this from Kyle Kuzma last night where Doc says, hey, the game plan was to shoot a bunch of threes against this team because of Wemby and the way they play. And, Kyle took, I think, 13 threes. And Doc says, that was a game plan. And then in the locker room, Kyle says, well, I don't know. I wasn't at shoot around. I was sick, so I didn't hear that. And
right.
So you're just kind of like, okay, well, was Doc trying to protect this guy and Kyle just didn't care, or what that breakdown was? So I don't want to say he's losing the locker room, because that's like, I think the big problem. But clearly there's got to be some disconnect with either messaging or the coaching in terms of what they want these guys to do, Bill, because they're not winning. They're not, some of these games, they're not even competitive.
I did a piece yesterday about Doc Rivers speaking out about what went on in Minnesota. And I don't care what side of the political aisle, I'm not making it political. And I want to make that clear. Doc is taking heat because of speaking out. And my question is this: why, when you're losing and you're needing all the asses in the seats you can possibly get. And I've got friends now that have said, and business people that are kind of friends, but they're more acquaintances than anything, that have said, I'm not going to a Bucks game. I'm not entertaining at a Bucks game. I'm done taking clients to a Bucks game. This guy keeps mouthing off. Why does management allow Doc to be so politically divisive?
Well, I mean, first I'll say in fairness to Doc Rivers, former President Peter Fagan, former head coach Mike Budenholzer also would speak on social justice issues in their previous tenures as well. So it's not just Doc Rivers.
Right.
Look, and this is what we talked about in October, Bill, when we were in Chicago and he spoke about ICE activities in his hometown of Maywood and obviously the greater Chicago area. Look, he's a citizen, a son of a police officer, a black man in America. And as we speak, there still are amendments and constitutional rights. So, anyone is free to do such things. And I think he did try to remain, to your entry into that question, not speaking about any sort of political parties, but rather about activities of law enforcement in this country. And that's, look, Bill, I don't have the experiences he or his players have had. So that's all else I could say about that.
Right.
Like, I don't know if ownership or managers or whatever can also, speak to that as well. But just broadly, Bill, I think even going back, look, under Senator Cole, when the team was owned by a politician, I can't recall what was done or said by players back then, but clearly, in the last however many years around the league, the NBA is a league that their coaches, players, executives do speak out and on various issues.
Yeah.
So, and I will say that you did say when they're losing, I guess, I think I'm not want to speak for Doc Rivers, but I think as he said the other night, everyone should speak out. And I think in his world, it's whether you've won one game or 41, that part doesn't matter because we're all human.
No, I get that. And I understand. And you had, and he has personal views. Everybody's got personal views. I'm thinking like, this is not good for business. Why would you divide half of your fan base? That I don't understand. Even if they are winning, you wouldn't want to do that. I mean, back when you're winning, everybody was jumping on the bandwagon. So yeah, there was a lot of guys speaking out, but it's still, I don't understand why, when you're starting to see crowds dwindle down there, why, if you're Wes Edens, no matter what your political beliefs are, why would you allow that? Why, because Popovich went through hell down there, and you saw what happened there. They started just kind of exiting in droves. I mean, he was in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, speaking out, and people were boycotting, not even wanting to go to games. I don't understand why they would take that on, specifically in a downturn right now when you're not quite sure what the hell you're going to do with Giannis here in the next couple of years. Anyway, that being said, so I guess my next question is, what's, if any, the turnaround for this team? I mean, where do you see, Jim, I watch some of these games and I'm thinking, I see guys that'll hustle up and down the floor, and then I see guys that don't hustle up and down the floor. And then I see guys that, man, they're setting hard screens and they're hitting threes. And then I see guys where they're just standing around watching a ball. I mean, is it just a lack of effort, or what is it?
Yeah, it's a question clearly they're still searching for, Bill, because you do see decent enough play to win games. You've seen some good victories, and then just the complete opposite. And, is that a coaching issue? I think it's a fair question to ask. Is it a talent issue? I think, Bill, as we've said, we didn't know what the floor for this team was, but we knew it was going to be low, right? And we thought maybe the low point was that long losing streak when Giannis was hurt. And unfortunately, we haven't really seen that floor get raised, or maybe how good they can be. So is the answer... And they're healthy right now. That's the thing. They're healthy. It's not like they've got injuries to say what we're hurting from. Right. Yeah, finally healthy, too, which is definitely disappointing and clearly has to be showing John Horst that, okay, maybe the talent mix isn't the best. And now, is that a trade? Do you change that talent mix? Maybe he's tinkered at every trade deadline around the edges, so my assumption would be he's looking to do the same. Now, is that a massive star, or is that, honestly, Bill, to your point, what you talked about were sort of like hustle plays or understanding of offense and defense? So are we talking about like a more of a connector type of guy where it's not going to like rock your phone lines, but could actually help this team win games, right? I don't know. That's why John Horst has paid a lot of money. I would argue maybe they need both, right? Some high-end talent and then maybe a glue guy who's a little better at all of these things. But until that's done, Bill, like the coaches got to figure this out. They've got another 2 days in practice in Atlanta coming up. Those practice days kind of worked in December. Like there was a bad loss in there, but they did come out of that stretch with 5 of 7 victories. So maybe these practices will help. But yeah, Bill, I mean, clearly it looks like they're not looking to make immediate changes with coaches or the roster. So if it's status quo, man, they just got to figure out what to do with what they got.
That was going to be my next question. If you're starting to think about the trade deadline, is there anything out there, Jim, that would make sense?
Man, I mean, this team has had some issues. I think a lot would make sense. So let's go with a big name everyone has talked about for 2 years, and that's Zach LaVine in Sacramento. Zach's a flawed player. His all-star years are behind us. But, Bill, I can tell you, when they lost that game in Minnesota a few weeks ago, when they've had these stretches where they've gone 8.5 minutes without a bucket, Zach LaVine's scoring for you. Like, that kind of guy, you're not going to go 8 minutes without a bucket. Giannis sits down and they lose a lead and go down by 9. Well, Zach is a guy who's going to prevent that from happening. But now let's go the other way. Let's just throw a name out, like an Alex Caruso type. He's not that kind of shooter. He's not that kind of scorer. But he can defend and cut and move the ball. And when that bench unit gets stagnant, here's a champion who knows what to do. So I think I use those two names because fans know what I think those are the archetypes, Bill, of, okay, if you're going to go high end, give them someone who can score and keep the offense moving when Giannis fits. And then if not, like, okay, here's this other kind of guy who can defend at a high level and just keep things going, because when Giannis is out, it just bogs down and you're getting a lot of ill-advised shots. And I think those would be the archetypes, Bill, I guess. Whether those two players or not, it would be those kind of guys or skill sets.
Now, here's the next question. And you and I spoke off the air the other night about this. And, you know, what I had talked about in hearing that maybe Giannis might not be with this team. He's never going to ask for a trade, but maybe you trade him when he's still got value as opposed to when he's 33, 34 and he's starting to break down and he doesn't have as much value. Here's my question. Do you think this offseason becomes very real? Because in the past, it was just a lot of clickbait and Shams Charania and all those, whatever. But do you think this year becomes very real that Giannis could possibly be moved? Or do you think that, no, he has made his emphatic stamp and he definitely wants to remain here? No agent is going to move him. Nobody else is going to move him. He wants this thing built around him, and he wants to just stay in Milwaukee the rest of his career and be here. Because what I hear is he wants legacy of multiple championships, and I don't know if he's going to get it here.
Yeah, look, Bill, I think when last summer we talked with all of this stuff, where it was clear he was coming back. Look, let's say this team finishes under 500 and either misses the play-in or makes a play-in and is out. We discussed this sort of worst-case scenario, and that would be 5 straight years now of this team getting worse with the first or second best player in the world. Like, since the title, every year's gotten worse. That's 5 years. I think in that moment, Bill, it would be fair for ownership and Giannis to be like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like, this is 5 straight years of us getting worse. Like, clearly everything we're trying is going the wrong way. And I think in that moment, Bill, it's fair for both parties to say 5 years, we spent over $1 billion. We've traded all these players. Giannis, you've played through all these injuries. Like, this is just not, like, clearly something's broken. And if they decide to part ways in whatever fashion that looks like, I think that would make a lot of sense. I'll be honest, because it's like, what now? That said, Bill, if ownership, Wes Edens, Jimmy Haslam, or whatever, still wants to win at the highest level, the best way to do that is with Giannis. Because, yeah, you're right. At age 36, what does that look like? I don't know. But at age 31, 32, I know what that looks like. And it's still really, really good. And honestly, Bill, you know this, you've covered the sport for a long time. You're not winning titles with Michael Redd and Andrew Bogut and Brandon Jennings, right? Like,
Right.
if you're going to do that, it's going to take a long time again. And I do think the best way to win is to try it again around him, which again is an ownership decision. They don't have to trade him. He's got a year left on his deal. So
Right.
I could see it both ways, Bill. I think it really just depends how this season ends. And what, because again, if they're 41-41 or 36-42, and they do what the Heat did 3 years ago, Bill, and they go to the finals, I'm telling you right now, they're doubling down. Giannis is feeling good, and no one remembers that they won 36 games. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly, yeah. Jim, great stuff as always, my friend. Appreciate it. And right now you're stuck in the doldrums. Hopefully things turn around and you're covering a winning team on a consistent. I appreciate it, buddy.
I appreciate you, Bill. Thank you so
All
much.
right, pal. Talk to you later. There you go. Jim Ozarski. Boy, just kind of, that's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack right there. It's just a team that they just look bad. The last couple of games, they just look bad. And everybody knows they're not booing Giannis because Giannis is the guy out there that is the consummate professional, the consummate guy when it comes to energy. He's always playing hard. But I'd say, and when he said everybody knows who they're booing, they're either booing the team or booing the coach. I think many are booing the coach. Just my opinion. I think many are booing the coach. So let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Smoke on the water. Out there in Okachi. Good stuff. They got a big weekend coming up. They're going to have the divisional games on, college hoops games on. They always have something good happening, good food, obviously, but they got music coming up as well. So a lot of good stuff at Smoke on the Water, Okachi Lake on Wisconsin Avenue. And Sunday morning, we were just talking about this. I thought Sunday morning, it's been a long time since I've been to Sloppy Joe's. I haven't been out there in a while. So I thought maybe Sloppy Joe's Saloon and Spoon coming up this weekend, this Sunday. Some pancakes might not be a bad way to go. Out there on Hubertus, in Hubertus. So both places owned by Joe and Ellen Hennis. They do a ton for veterans in the community, but two really good places. Smoke on the Water on Okachi, Sloppy Joe's Saloon and Spoon. Sloppy Joe's is just a Wisconsin. I mean, you walk into that place, you're in Wisconsin. You know exactly where you're at. It's just that kind of a place. Just a cool place. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it on Hubertus Road, just east of Holy Hill. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Just a really, really cool place. Really cool place. So we'll get back into the Packers stuff coming up here after the top of the hour and start to get thoughts and questions. And I want to get, we had a lot of text messages today and yesterday, and I want everybody's voice to be heard. We got Mike Clemens coming up at the bottom, or the last hour of the program today. So a whole bunch of stuff that we want to get into, but there's so many different directions we can go today. And I think we're going to open up phone lines. Grant, do we have anything else that we're playing today that we're sound wise,
No sound. It doesn't mean something couldn't crop up.
Okay. Just making sure.
We'll get to that. One thing we can do, I was thinking in the 12 o'clock hour, we can do a divisional round buy or sell. We can look at some of the games and hit some of the stories. So that was kind of on my rundown as well. But I'm kind of still holding out hope we get Matt LaFleur news today too, or something.
I know. I kind of get the sense that if they're a little bit apart and it's not coming any closer, that do you think scenario B is taking place right now where they're possibly shopping him around? I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit about that. I don't know what to make of it at this point. We really thought we'd have some things done, and not as of right now. Don't go anywhere. Got an hour down, and we got 3 more yet to go. Off to a fast start today. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks were in San Antonio last night and would suffer their second blowout loss with the final score 119-101, falling to the Spurs. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 21 points. Kyle Kuzma had 18, but obviously wasn't enough. Head coach Doc Rivers talks on the L.
We got our play, guys. We generated. Let me say this. Before the game, if you would have told us we shot 48 threes, what would you have thought? Yeah, and we probably won the game. We didn't make them. The fouling and the missed threes, long rebounds got them out running. That hurt us. But the fouling killed us.
With the Bucks now losing 3 in a row, Bobby Portis says it's been frustrating.
Obviously, it's tough. It's disheartening, especially losing a game, but losing the way that we lost the last 2 games is very much so disheartening.
The Bucks will have the weekend off before going to Atlanta and taking on the Hawks on Monday. Turning to Wisconsin basketball, they're looking to win 4 straight when they host Rutgers at the Kohl Center tomorrow for a 1 o'clock tip. The Badgers currently sit 12-5 on the year and 4-2 in Big Ten play.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
The Steelers are the latest team to want to interview with Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley for their head coaching vacancy. Hafley has also been connected with 5 other jobs. Also, we're still waiting on what the Packers and Matt LaFleur will decide on. And finally, today is the final day for college football players to enter into the transfer portal, which more than 20 Badgers have done. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in Friday. How we looking? Feeling good today. I am excited. As always, thank you. Excited to be here. Yeah. And boy, we got a plethora of things. As man, we don't have anything new coming out of 1265. A lot of Brewers baseball concerns in the sense of television networks. Remember, FanDuel is no more, so they canceled that contract, and I've been receiving more and more. Now that the page has turned from football heading towards baseball, spring training, stuff like that, people are starting to go, oh, wait a minute. Today being the anniversary of Bob Uecker passing and such, and all of a sudden people are going, oh, that's right. Wait a minute. No FanDuel. Where's Brewers baseball going to be? So apparently there's going to be like a Brewers network, which is going to be produced by Major League Baseball, at least for right now, because there's many teams. There's not just the Brewers, but there's other teams that are in that same situation right now. You've got the point shaving scandal in college basketball. I have not, and I got to be honest, because people are asking the opinion on that. Look, I have not sat down and really dove into it head first. It's basically people got to players to participate in this and to bettors. And all these betting sites have algorithms that if money starts coming in on something that is not normally bet that big, it kicks off an alarm. And it gets sent to whatever governing body it is, and the FBI swoops in, and the next thing you know, they start investigating, and people, lower level people start rolling on upper level people, and the next thing you know, there's a big net, and you've got 26 plus people that have been caught up in this thing. And it's happening. When you got into bed with all these betting outlets, it's dirty. We knew it was going to be dirty. I think what you hope for at this point is that it doesn't affect what you love. If you're a college basketball fan and it's minor teams and smaller teams, and you hope that it never reaches into your own backyard. And I think we all hope that it never reaches the NFL. There's already enough conspiracy theories about the NFL with people that kick a field goal late or don't go for a field goal late, and it creates the difference in a point spread. And there's already people that say, aha, I told you so. There's enough of that. You hope it never gets to that. I'm sure it's there. It's almost like we don't want to know, but we want to know if it ever gets to that. But you hope it doesn't reach the NFL. We've seen it in the NBA. We see it in college basketball. It's much easier in those sports to change the tide of an outcome or of the depth of an outcome than it is in the NFL. It just is.
And there's more games. So each one means a little bit less.
Right.
The players' desire night to night can wax and wane a little bit. Whereas in the NFL, those guys are basically, it feels like they're playing for their lives and their career every snap, every Sunday.
Right. You hope that you don't get, a defensive backfield that all of them have taken a payout to, help gamblers or something like that. So we all enjoy it. And one of the reasons, let me say this, for people that think gambling is so terrible and it's affected the sport, I remember being in high school back in the 80s. And every Monday I would get the slip. We all got the betting slip. Do you remember that? Whether it was from your dad, my dad, he got it at the local bar. My dad wasn't a big bar guy, but a buddy of his, they'd go after work and they'd have a beer. My dad was a one beer guy anyway. Have a beer. But on Monday, he would get the betting slip and you'd get all the games and the point spreads, and then you'd have to circle 3 or 4 that you wanted. And it was like $5 or a couple bucks or whatever it was. And then you sat down and you wrote down. I remember as a kid, I'd write down what I thought and write down the teams I picked. And then I'd sit there on Sunday and I'd watch. Sometimes I won. Sometimes I didn't win my money. But I got good at it. This year I've been terrible, by the way. But I got good at it. And over the years, I probably won from the time I was in high school, a freshman, all the way up until maybe my second year of college. Probably won about $500 total, you know? But those were the betting cards. Slips of paper, here they come, you turn them back in, they go to the guy in the bar, he starts paying out. Betting has been around for as long as there's been sports, as long as there's been competition. So it's not like it's all of a sudden just got bad. But when you've got all of these now prop bets and parlays and all this different stuff, you kind of figured at some point it would start to leak in. So I don't want to go too deep into it because I haven't really read on it. Maybe Grant, if you have, you can speak more to it than I have at this point. But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't shock me. Former NBA players are getting involved and kind of roping in some of these guys. But beyond that, I don't know what else to say.
The prop bets are tricky.
Yeah.
Right. It leaves these players, if they're in a tough spot financially, or, if they've accrued gambling debt already and they need to pay it off, it puts some of these young men in a bad spot, which I don't like. I also, with some of these gambling stories, I have a hard time sometimes sympathizing with the sports gambler.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember earlier this year when Lamar was listed as a healthy participant in practice all week,
right,
and then he didn't play, and it was a huge deal. Everyone's like, this isn't fair. Man, I have nothing against people betting sports, but you realize that it's kind of a fluky crapshoot thing, right? Like, if you want some, go buy mutual funds. If you really want something that's on the up and up and that's not fluky, like you just got to expect, if you're a sports bettor, that weird stuff is going to happen. And it's not always because somebody's on the take. It's because you're betting on a game where the ball doesn't bounce normally. It's a football shaped like a triangle. So weird stuff's going to happen. I don't know.
Well, that's like somebody said, well, I thought of that the minute I saw such and such Dunze, get behind Nixon. That means that would have to be that play at that time in that matchup in that defense that was called. It's tough to do it in football because if you're getting smoked and it's obvious, the changes are made unless your defensive coordinator is on the take. It's too hard in football. Football is a whole different animal. It's too hard. Now you can have a guy that drops some passes if you're talking about a wide receiver. But it's too hard in football. It just is. There's too much individuality there, So anyway, but that's the reason we haven't talked about it a whole lot, because it doesn't shock me. It's like, here's another college basketball betting scandal. That's it. Kevin says, in your opinion, why have we not heard anything about the staff changes yet? Here's the reason why.
There haven't been any.
There haven't been any. And you can't start changing staff until you get your head coach worked out. Because if the head coach isn't going to be there, well, it doesn't matter, because everybody on the staff is now on job watch. So that's the reason. We have not. Once you hear Matt LaFleur is or isn't signed, is or isn't traded, coming or not coming back, then you're going to hear about the staff. Until, you can't make changes below until the changes up top are made or until they're solidified. So that's what we're waiting on. I am surprised, but again, I said, if there's anything negative that comes out, it'll come out over the weekend, because that's when the news cycle is the slowest. You don't have a ton of local talk shows on. It's usually national stuff. They'll talk about, then you get a chance to kind of digest it. And then on Monday, things have happened in the news cycle that can bump you down on Monday. Now, in the state of Packers Nation, everything Packers all the time is number one. We all know that. But it could be that they want to announce both contracts, both Goody and Matt LaFleur at the same time. It could be where they're going to announce Goody and not Matt LaFleur, and we're still working on it. I don't know. But I go back to my original statement that we had on Wednesday night with Mike, was if they were going to fire him, they would have fired him. If they were just going to cut him loose, they would have cut him loose by now. So they're working on things. And my guess is the distance between the two is probably a year or two. And if they can't get to a mid-ground, then the Packers will start taking phone calls as to whether or not Matt LaFleur is going to be the head coach here or somewhere else, and they make a trade and they get some draft choices back. And that's when you hear about Goody signed and a new guy will be coming in, and the search is on, and we got draft choices for him, blah, blah, blah. That's it. That's it. So, and Chuck says it has to happen now because of all the other candidates, and not necessarily. Nobody, the only guy that's been hired is Harbaugh. Everybody else is out interviewing. And if there's a word out there, let's be honest, if there's a word out there that says, hey, that Packers job could open up, believe me, Ed Policy's sitting there with a list of candidates. He's probably got 5 to 10 guys right now on his list that says, if we don't work this out with Matt, here's the 10 guys I'm going to call. You know, it can be a lot of these different guys. So it could be a coordinator. It could be a head coach that's out of a job right now. There could be a lot of different avenues to go. So he's, when it comes to the Packers, you got a loaded roster once they come back and healthy. A quarterback that just needs to take the next step. You've been in the postseason every year for the most part. You're not overly concerned about somebody not wanting to take the Green Bay Packers job. If they believe that, you know, hey, they're going to hold out for something, okay, maybe. But you're not going to have, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Glenn says the rumor heading to Atlanta for a third round pick. First of all, that's ridiculous. You're not going to give up Matt LaFleur for a third round pick. It would be a first round pick. Be a first, because the rumor out there was, what was his value? It'd be a first and another pick. So you're not going to do it for a third round pick. So whatever that rumor is, that's a steaming pantload. So you know. But what the value, because if Matt LaFleur indeed would have the cachet to say, fire me and I'll go get a 5-year deal somewhere because I'll be a hot commodity, and a team is willing to pay him that, then they're giving you a first round pick, maybe more. Especially if you're a team like Atlanta and you've got Michael Penix Jr. sitting there who you want to develop. You've got Bijan Robinson. You've got a stout defense. You've got some solid tight ends and wide receivers to throw to. You're probably just the development of your quarterback away from being a really good football team. You just won 4 straight going into the postseason, where you ultimately, you know, you didn't make the postseason, but you just won 4 straight. No. 877-867-1670. I read Rob Domofsky's post too, where he said it would probably be a second round pick if they ended up getting him. I would think that it might be higher. Stop with Holmgren, okay? Stop with it. Look what they gave to pick up. They gave a first round pick and I think a second round pick to get Sean Payton. And that was recent. I mean, you talk about the rebuild that the Denver Broncos did. Man, think about that. They gave away multiple first-round picks for both Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and still were able to turn that thing around in a couple of years. Whew. Just an amazing, amazing job. Anyway, we have not heard anything out of Green Bay. I'm not going to get into all the speculation right now because I think it's just all rumors and crap, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's all rumors and crap. So, and for all of you saying, no, it's not this, it's not that, that's fine. I don't know who you're talking to, but that's fine. Maybe it's not worth it to you because you want to get rid of Matt LaFleur. But for another team that's sitting out there that thinks that Matt LaFleur is a really good coach and could come in and make him an innovative offense, okay. You know? 877-8, winning gambler, no, he didn't. He said he could be a first or second round pick. That's a lie. No, he didn't. He never said third or fourth. No, he didn't. He was on Get Up yesterday morning and said that he could go for a first or second round pick. So that's a lie. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. More coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in. I'm going to cut through all the crap just because I feel like I need to. Okay. Because everybody's firing off all the rumors and all the crap. Okay, let's cut the crap. Okay. So here's the thing. All the stuff with Matt LaFleur is, if they were going to make a deal for Harbaugh, they would have made a deal for Harbaugh. They didn't do that. If they were going to make a deal for another coach, they would have made a deal for another coach. The bottom line is, and I don't need Adam Schefter to tell me, oh, it's still up in the air, because that's not breaking news. We all know that. We're all sitting here right here in our own backyard going, okay, nothing's happened. I think they're trying to stick with consistency and run it back. I think it comes down, and much like Tom Silverstein said, it's probably years. It's probably the difference between 3 years, 5 years. Maybe they'll end up splitting the difference. Who knows? And then maybe there's some things on the staff. But if they wanted to fire him and all this stuff about they're shopping him, he's out of here. He's out of here. If he wanted to be out of here, they would have made a deal by now. Because you're not going to go through the process of interviewing all these other coaches if the Packers are willing to trade the guy that you want. That's the other thing. Because if he was on the block, he'd be on the block. You would have, somebody would have said something by now. Somebody in an organization would have said something by now. Okay? This is a very leaky business. Agents get it all the time, right? Unless it's strictly between Ed Policy and Arthur Blank. Right? So my guess is that they're trying to work out the deal. They'll get it done. There's going to be some changes on the staff, whether it's announced today, tomorrow, Sunday, whatever. They'll get it done. And then we'll hear about what staff changes are coming. That's it. So for all this stuff about, well, Adam Schefter said this, and he said, yeah, his last quote 53 minutes ago was, it's up in the air. That's it. Which I could have been quoted for that, right? So that's my guess. And for all the other rumors that are out there, who are you attributing it to? Because if you're attributing it to a clickbait website, I don't want to hear it. It's all crap. There's nothing out there that's substantial. There's nothing out there that has teeth to it. I saw somebody had mentioned something with on a Dallas Cowboys site that somebody sent me saying, see, they're trading him. And it was from a guy who's a fan, and he does a podcast. He's, got a couple thousand people that subscribe to him, and he gets about 5,000 views. Okay, he does a pretty good job. But it was his speculation. This guy, he's not even an insider. It's just a fan. So and if they were going to hire Hafley as the head coach, they would not let Hafley be out interviewing right now. So that's the other thing. If they wanted Hafley, Matt would be gone. Hafley would be the coach right now because you would not allow him to go out and start interviewing all over the place. It would be bad business. It would be bad business. And for those that are like, wow, he didn't fire him, so I'm out on Ed Policy. Ed Policy is doing things methodically. And I think this is exactly what we talked about on Tuesday. This is exactly what we talked about on Wednesday with Mike. And this is exactly what we talked about yesterday. He probably said, you go make your recommendations, look at things and what you did good, what you did bad, what needs to be improved, changes you want to make. Let's sit down and talk. In the meantime, we feel that this is where you're at. There's going to be an analysis of this and whether staff changes are to be made or whatever. And if it all works out and we can come to a consensus, then we're going to work on the extension because everybody wants to be happy. And it's a process. And just because you're not the first to fire and the first to hire doesn't make you wrong. And it doesn't make you a wuss and all the other things that are being thrown around out there, specifically on the live stream today. It makes you actually a really smart, slow like an iceberg businessman because you're just trying to figure out what direction your team needs to go. And there is something to be said for continuity. And there is something to be said for that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that could be the methodology here. But for all the other speculation, unless you hear it on a definitive, from a credible source, stop with all the rumors and all the crap. And if somebody says it, just like over here on the live stream, show me where it's in print or show me where they said it. That's a credible source. And the reason I ask that is because unless a reporter gets it from an agent, the NFL usually spoon feeds it to Pelissero, Schefter, and whoever the other guy is. Those three guys are the guys that everything gets spoon-fed through the NFL to them. They're the ones that break the stories. Very rarely is anything ever broken anymore by a local reporter because the NFL has these contracts. So that's it. So for everybody that says they know something, if you're the only one that's screaming in the wilderness, tell me where you got it, show it to me, and if you can't, then you know it's a giant steaming pant load and you're being sucked in, maybe into wishful thinking. That's it. That's it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. All right, let's do this. Let's get to the phone calls because we got a lot of those. Let's go to our buddy Derek in Albany. He's been on hold since 1974. Derek, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I was 16 in 1974, Bill. So,
all right.
Anyway, you're going all over the place today, which is fine. The current climate we're in, particularly with the Packers. And briefly, before I get to the Packers, I'll just make this quick. Greg Gard did a smart thing, and there was one player on the team that was a transfer through the portal. I think he played at Fordham, and there were some allegations against him, and Gard just dismissed him immediately. So I like what Wisconsin basketball is doing the last few games, and that's good. But a couple things. If Grant wants to look at this while you're, when he has a moment in production, on PackerNews.com or Pete Doherty, who you know well, Pete did an article called Where Packers Salary Cap Stands and What They Can Do With It.
Right.
Where Packers Salary Cap Stands. Very interesting article about what we can do, where our limitations are, and so forth. That's interesting. And as far as the contract for LaFleur, I don't know. I'm not a finance guy, a business guy, but I would think a 5-year deal is too much. I would think you give him like a 2-year prove-it deal, and maybe there's a way out of that possibly. And then lastly, what do you do about the assistants? Let's say LaFleur is retained. Do you get rid of, you look at the offensive line. Okay, you could say, well, they didn't play up to their capability, but there were so many injuries, and you moved so many guys around. I mean, Jordan Morgan came in as a left tackle. We got him playing all over the freaking place. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's the best thing. I think for offensive linemen, I watch a lot of football, and you probably agree with me. For offensive linemen, most of the time it's easier to pass block than it is to run block. You got to go out and find linebackers. I mean, think about this, Bill. You're 320 pounds, and you got to go out and block a linebacker that's running a 4.4 or 4.39, and you're trying to get to him, and it's pretty damn hard. I mean, there's ways, with the zone blocking to do with that, but the offensive line was a problem. That's why the running game was a problem. I think the problem with the Packers game, in all the review I've seen, the second half, they just didn't have the want to. The Bears played angry. They intimidated the Packers in the second half. I hate to admit that, but I think that's what happened. You got to play angry the whole damn game. You want to put Reggie White used to start the game in Green Bay. You've probably seen the highlights. He would start with the guys be around him before the game. He'd say 60 minutes of butt kicking. You just have to have that attitude. Football is such a physical, emotional game. You got to play with frenzy. You got to play with your hair on fire.
Right.
So that's what I figure with that. And do you get rid of Adam Stenovich as the offensive coordinator? I mean, you can't say that it's really Butkus' fault as the O-line coach or Stenovich specifically, but you got to get rid of the special teams guy. Got to get rid of him.
Well, that's just it. I appreciate the phone calls always, Derek. Let's start with the first one. What changes are going to be made? I think that's where, and as I said before, you get the recommendations and such from Matt LaFleur. What direction do you want to go? What do you want to do? Okay, here's the pot of money we have. Here's the changes we may want to make. Let's get your contract or situation worked out first, because you can't go and start signing or retaining or firing guys if you're not keeping the head coach. You got to work that out first, and then everything trickles down. So that's what we're waiting on. For people that say, why is Bisaccia not gone? Why is this guy not gone? Why is that guy? Because the first order of business is your head coach. Get that worked out first, and then you have the trickle down. Now, they could be arguing over years. They could be arguing over what to pay assistant coaches. Hey, pay me this, but I also need this to bring in better assistants or what have you. Okay, what guy do you want to retain? Well, maybe I want to keep this guy. I don't know. That guy just didn't earn his keep. The results just aren't there. And as you say, Matt, it's results-oriented business. Okay, well, I want this guy. Well, maybe we don't. So you got to agree on it. These are all the things that they're talking about. It's one thing if Matt LaFleur, say, would have beaten Chicago, lost this upcoming weekend, and then sat down and said, because chances are this is all worked out. But the way this season ended, 4 or 5 straight losses, postseason included, and then things that happened along the way, injuries, certain aspects of the team didn't play up to expectation. There's a lot of decisions to be made here. And this is the reason people, you got to make a choice. You do it methodically. You don't worry about everybody else, because if you make a decision out of panic, it's a bad decision. It's a bad decision. Now, if you've got you've got a guy you want, and you're in hemming and hawing about Matt LaFleur, and you've got 2 guys that are of equal talent, and Matt LaFleur just won't sign for this amount of money, then you cut him loose, and I've got my guy. But I'm not, because I'm afraid of losing a candidate, I don't make any moves because you're afraid. Any businessman will tell you, don't make a move because you're afraid. Make a move to what's best for you now, with the vision to look ahead and say, here's my list of what I'm going to do in this situation. That's what good CEOs do. That's what good CEOs do. You don't make a lot of knee-jerk decisions. That's how you end up being the Daniel Snyders of the world. That's how you end up being a bad over and over and over and over again retread of, say, a team like, say, Arizona. Where they just keep firing and hiring and hiring and firing, and you end up being Woody Johnson and the Jets because it's knee-jerk, and you're listening to the fans, and you just take it methodically, you move like an iceberg, you do the best you can, and you move on. I'm not saying it's right and I like it. But for everything to say, well, you got to do this now. No, you don't. No, you don't. And if you're afraid of losing somebody, well, so be it. 876, because I know there's some people out there that are like, I can't believe they didn't move on Harbaugh. Harbaugh never got out of New York. And if that was going to happen, that would have happened earlier this week. And like I said, if they were going to fire LaFleur, they would have fired LaFleur. And they didn't. 877-867-1670. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more to get to. More of the Bill Michaels Show upcoming. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Paul Roberts Specialty Meats. It is going to happen this Sunday. I can't wait. I'm heading down there today. Going to pick up an Al Capone roast. Looking forward to it on Sunday night. That's going to be sitting down, watching some divisional round playoff games. Going to be right there on the grill. I am fired up. I'm excited about grilling, even though it's going to be cold. I'm going to do a little grilling this weekend. And maybe I'll even post some stuff as I grill that thing. Might have to do it on a skillet inside if it's only going to be 4 degrees. But that being said, Paul Roberts and Roberts Specialty Meats, they are your hometown butcher, whether it's the great meats and the choice cuts or the deli, or who knew that they had that good of seafood, but the king crab legs are fantastic. Best I've ever had, as a matter of fact, and I'm not kidding. I'm not lying about it. Kristen did a great job in steaming them, but oh my God, were they good. Best I've ever had. A lot of good stuff going on down there at Roberts Specialty Meats on Sunset Drive in Waukesha, your hometown butcher.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Grab the dial and crank it up, baby, because Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee is spinning its Winning Hits collection. Over the next 3 months, you could win a share of over $1 million in prizes. On top of thousands in cash and reward play, you could win one of 3 new Ford vehicles in the grand finale drawings on March 27th. Just play with your rewards card to earn entries. Press play on the Winning Hits collection, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes.
Down goes hunger. Down goes hunger. That's the call when you take your first bite at Home Field Pub and Social. With a chef-driven food roster that's stacked with flavor. From starting lineup appetizers to all-star plates and sandwiches to Hall of Fame desserts. It's all worthy of a highlight reel. Because this isn't your basic game day fare. This is crave-worthy food with enough flavor to make your taste buds do a touchdown dance. And if you're ready to play, step into the Topgolf Swing Suite and take your shot at glory. Swing, sip, and snack your way through every clutch moment. So the next time someone asks where you were when hunger lost the title match, you say Home Field Pub and Social, where it's game day every day. In the heart of Titletown, right next to Lambeau Field.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Big Boar Barbecue. Doesn't that sound good? Over the weekend, maybe? You're going to get cold. You're going to watch those divisional games. You call up Carter and guys. Carter, hey, I need some ribs. I need some sauce. I need some dry rub. I need some pulled pork. I need some of that big pot of golden mac and cheese, and I need some coleslaw to go along with it. And I'm going to come over and pick it up. I'm going to lay it out at the house. I'm going to watch some divisional football this coming weekend. Drown some sorrows because the Packers aren't there, and a lot of good barbecue. Big Boar Barbecue. Big Boar, B-O-A-R, BigBoarBBQ.com. Give them a shout right there in West Salem, Wisconsin. West Salem, Wisconsin, out there in the La Crosse area. BigBoarBBQ.com. Really, really good stuff. Stop in, tell them we said hi. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Let's go to Pete. Pete, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good, Bill.
Good. What's happening?
Well, I really enjoyed you and Mike Clemens on Wednesday evening. Watched that on YouTube on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to hear most of your show yesterday because we were driving to Altoona to QC Kinetics.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm an old man, I got to admit that. By some standards anyway, and they treat me far the rest of my hands.
Okay.
So, and I heard the guy talking about Ray Nitschke that called in yesterday.
Right.
Some things he had right, some things I would kind of disagree with.
Okay.
Ray was not an assassin or a headhunter. Like if somebody got banged up on the Packer team, he was not going to deliberately go hurt somebody on the other team.
Right, right. He was just a badass.
Lombardi would not condone that.
Right.
Lombardi said play hard, play clean. And so he was able to channel the anger that Nitschke had as a young man because of his way his upbringing was.
Mm-hmm.
He had a tough childhood, and discipline him.
Right.
Channel it, and make him a disciplined player. You had to be disciplined and smart to play for Lombardi.
Right.
That's where a lot of current players would not have played for Lombardi. They don't always play smart. They don't play disciplined.
Can't argue with that. That's for sure.
And toughness, too, he talked about. Well, yeah, Nitschke was tough on defense. Bart Starr was tough, but it was a different kind of a toughness. You know, it wasn't displayed like Nitschke's was.
Right.
But Bart Starr, it was inside him, but everybody in the offensive huddle knew it was there. And that's why, like, they were able to do in the fourth quarter in the Ice Bowl what they did. Because they knew that Bart Starr was tough enough to lead them down there in that last drive.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they needed.
Right.
And you don't see that in the coaches and in the team now. You know, that's the main difference, I think.
No, I get where you're coming. I appreciate the phone call. I get where you're coming from. And going back to the Nitschke thing, Nitschke, he was just a badass. I mean, that guy wasn't a headhunter, not in the sense of going out to hurt somebody, but he was a guy that you didn't come across the middle. That was his territory. Just going back to years to what? Now, I was a little kid when he played, but I'd seen film. And yeah, Bart was a tough guy. You know, Bart was a guy that, you know, could take a hit. Bart was a guy that could be a leader. The point is, going back to yesterday, you know, people wanted to see somebody take out Booker. And I said, you can play to the whistle and maybe beyond the whistle a little, but nobody wants to take a penalty in a bad situation. The only time you would take a penalty is if you're way up. You're not going to just, because people wanted to see where this conversation came from was a guy called in and said, I wanted to see somebody take out Booker. He was trying to headhunt our quarterback. I wanted to see somebody take out Booker. You can't just go do it. You know, if you get a shot, you take a shot, but otherwise you're not going to just go do it and be obvious and either get thrown out of a game or a crucial penalty in a bad situation. Give them an extension where they're going to continue as far as a drive goes and put you in a hole. And the next thing you know, you're going to give them momentum. You just, unless you're way up in a game to be able to take that kind of a shot, you don't do that. You just play smart football. And
unless you're Keyshawn Nixon and the play is insignificant,
then yes, then you just jump on a pile and go for the
dumbass,
I guess. But regardless.
Also, for everyone saying, well, they should pop Caleb Williams. They're trying. Do you think the issue is they don't? Like, look at Rashawn Gary Chase after him.
I had a couple of people that said that, too, that they should have got after him. Well, they couldn't catch him.
They were trying really hard. Trust me.
They don't go out. You get so overwhelmed with some, like, I don't want to say stupidity because that's demeaning, but it's just, do you think that they're going out trying not to play well? Do you think they're going out trying not to hit Caleb Williams? You know, what I looked at, and again, I got to bring it back. I got to rein it back in. I looked at a team that had a tale of two halves, an offensive line that got handed. I got Rasheed Walker, who played a terrible second half of the game. You've got your center who goes down, and your backup center was already gone. I've got stagnant, what I consider to be somewhat stagnant play calling. I see a head coach marching up and down the sidelines looking like a deer in the headlights. And I see a reflection over and over and over and over and over again of a team that faces adversity and falls apart in crucial situations. I saw it in the game against San Francisco when Aaron Jones went down, fumbled the football. They were never the same offense after that. I saw a team get a field goal blocked, a punt blocked. They looked like they were punched in the face and they were done. They took on what I consider to be that persona of the head coach. You've got guys in the locker room that are talking about not being able to finish and haven't been, like Quay Walker said, haven't been before I got here. You've got whispers of guys going, we're going to get beat here, we're going to get beat there, and then we're going home. You've got other guys going, yeah, Matt's a really nice guy, to a fault. You've got players outside the organization saying, every year we're talking about how the Green Bay Packers aren't tough. These are all things that reflect directly back on your head coach that he has to address if he's going to remain the head coach. Now, I said after that game on Saturday, I wouldn't run it back. I've seen enough. We'll see what the Packers end up doing. But that's kind of where all the other stuff, the nitpicking of semantics, it's all crap. That's fine. I can give you 50 examples of bad play calling. I can give you 50 examples of really bad tackling, 50 examples of just ugly plays. We all got that. We've all got something burned in our memory. The overall bottom line is, as Matt LaFleur has stated in his own words, it's a results-oriented business, and the results just aren't there. So depending on how Ed Policy views this, what he wants to do, what their plan is, and I got to think that there's a plan and a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. It's playing out. That's it. And with all the other speculation and the rumors, and somebody said this and somebody said that, and then when I say, okay, who said it? Then it's, well, this guy said it on this podcast, but he was referring to this guy. And it's like, okay, by the time it's all said and done, it's basically some dude with his pants off in his mom's basement on a computer doing a podcast or something where he makes something up or says something for clickbait, and suddenly it's become the hottest rumor. It's like, no, stop. We're just waiting to find out. We're just waiting to find out. Just boil it down to, we'll figure it out. They'll figure it out at some point here in the next, I would assume, 24, 48 hours. You wouldn't let it go so long that you don't care. But just relax. Relax. And then when decisions are made, then we'll react to that. That's it. Let's go to our buddy Gerard. Gerard, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, Bill. Boy, you said so many great things, boy, during the week. So right on. I mean, really, and your guests were perfect. I mean, there are some outliers out there that are, buddies with LaFleur, and he lets them in the locker room, and he talks to them, so they all think we can't let him go. The perfect scenario is this. What policy, I hope, what he's doing. Now, normally through emotions, I would have fired him an hour after the Bears game. But you put that beside you and you say to yourself, look, if I play this right, I will play with LaFleur and say, well, I'm not going to give you this. I'm not going to give you that. And LaFleur might get frustrated. And then the perfect scenario would be trade him for a high draft choice. That's the perfect. If you did it through emotion and you fired him right, you threw all your cards away, like you said. So I'm hoping, and I know it's a very small percentage, if they give him a 5-year contract, Bill, I might not watch the package for 5 years. I'm that bad. I canceled the NBA package after the second week because of guys like Rivers. Even though I'm a Celtic fan, Rivers and Kerr and the other nitwit over there in San Antonio. I don't play that game. All right? So, and then the other scenarios, this is even dumber. We're going to keep Matty, and then we're going to surround him with different coaches because he's so incompetent that he couldn't pick the right coaches. He couldn't change coaches in time. So we got to pick it for him. It makes no sense. It's just plain dumb. You get rid of the main guy that hired the guys that wouldn't get rid of the guys he hired because they didn't do their job correctly, the whole bit. As far as injuries, people saying injuries, they were in the middle of the pack. And as far as making the playoffs, 44% of the teams make the playoffs. Okay? So he's been doing this. Bill, 5 years ago, I started talking. Well, how long ago did I start telling you about this? And it's the same thing every year. But for some reason, they have to keep him. The defensive coordinator, I'm praying to God that he gets a job with another team. Look, and you spoke about this guy, Morris. Morris is the same thing as Hapley. 2 deep, 4-man rush. And even Silverstein said that. But, as far as these years with LaFleur, it's idiotic. It makes no sense. Play the game with him and get rid of him. It makes no sense to keep this guy. None.
What do you think? Let me ask you this, Gerard. What do you think they're going to do?
I think they're going to bring him back.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I think they're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
I think they're going to bring him back, and it'll probably be a 3 or 4. It's just dumb. If you know what this guy does, you see he's an emotional wreck. You see what he's done. You see he chokes up in the big on the big moments of the games. We all see this, Bill. The only guys that don't want to see it is, like I said, the guys. One guy, I'm going to tell you this. There's one writer who I don't have much respect for. I was having a little back and forth with him. And his big thing was he knows because he's in the locker room. He knows what goes on. And I'm like, I don't want to tell you what I told him, but but I mean, these guys are just, it's like if they get access, the guy's great. So I want that guy around more because he gets that access. Let me ask you: does policy really know what the fan? I mean, do these people really know?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on here? Did policy not see what's going on here with him in 5 years, and you still want him back? Well, why?
And Ed's been around for 12. I think Ed's been around for a total of 12, 13 years now. So it's not like he doesn't see everything on the inside. You know what I mean?
Bill, yeah, I understand that, but make logic out of this. There's a million good candidates out there.
I know.
Get somebody in here that has some cojones, and get somebody in here. I mean, we're talking about you got to bring somebody in here who's aggressive, who can really yell.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. All of that, Gerard, and I got to run here because I'm going to break. All of that being said, all those details, as long as they win, I don't care. I don't care how they get from point A to point B. They just got to win. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. This has brought out, I've got to be honest with you, this whole discussion has brought out some of the worst in people. It really has. Everybody's got an opinion, and if you don't agree with their opinion, then you're an ass. And I watched the live stream. And here's my question. Grant, I'll throw you into this mix. What makes a good head coach? And then as you start to make those qualities, then you ask yourself, does Matt LaFleur have it? And I think that's kind of where the Packers are at. Because I'm watching people just go crazy. They're losing their freaking minds. You know, every caller gets this level of dripping sarcasm, you know. Wow, and he'll come back. This guy will be back on board when Matt LaFleur wins the Super Bowl. And then people start arguing about whether or not Matt LaFleur wins the Super Bowl. They're talking about Ed Policy and his character now. Ed Policy hasn't done a damn thing yet. He said at the beginning of the season, we'll wait and see. He hasn't made any changes. He hasn't done anything. It doesn't mean he's not going to, but he hasn't done anything yet. People are killing Ed Policy. People are killing Goody. Everybody's going after Bisaccia and Stedovich and Butkus. And it's like, if they don't win a Super Bowl, everything sucks, throw everything out, start over. And if they don't hire your guy, then you're a pain in the ass to everybody else until that guy wins because you're right and everybody else is wrong. And that's why I said you got to get back to a reality. You got to get back to a reality here. Here's what's going on. They're doing evaluations behind closed doors. They're talking to the agents. They're trying to figure out what they want. Put it this way. If they were going to give him a 5-year deal at $17, $18 million a year, it'd be done. If they were going to fire him, it'd be done, right? Be done. Because it'd be no-brainers on both sides. But we all know what lies in the middle. We all know Ed Policy saw what we saw. So he's saying, look, we may pay you this, but I don't want to go this many years because there's some flaws here. And Matt LaFleur's people are going, well, we could go elsewhere and get this. So we've got the leverage. And Ed Policy's like, no, you don't. You're not going to just bull rush us because you can go somewhere else. I'm not going to be. I appreciate where Ed Policy's at when you start to think about it. Because if he was going to be knee-jerk, he would have made it. He would have made a decision already. It. He would have made
Mark
a decision.
Murphy once fired McCarthy after a game in the regular season.
Right. And started the hunt early.
So compare that. Was that knee-jerk? Everyone wanted it, but you could argue that was knee-jerk.
Right.
That wasn't their plan.
But it turned out to work. Next year, 13-3 in an NFC Championship game, a game in which they had no business even being in because their defense wasn't any good. So I appreciate where they're at right now. And if Ed Policy's going through all the details and trying to work something, we'll talk about this. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Put it that way. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks have now dropped 3 in a row and sit 17-24 on the season. That's after falling to the Spurs last night in San Antonio, 119-101. This is the second straight lopsided loss for the Bucks after being booed at home, losing to the T-Wolves 139-106 on Tuesday. Bobby Portis talks on his team's losing streak.
The last couple games, just couldn't withstand the runs and stop the bleeding a little bit. So, obviously it's tough. It's disheartening, especially losing a game, but losing the way that we lost the last 2 games is very much so disheartening.
The Bucks will get the weekend off and be back in action Monday in Atlanta against the Hawks. Turning to Wisconsin basketball, they're riding a 3-game winning streak. John Blackwell talks on beating UCLA, Michigan, and Minnesota.
It's just your next play mentality. Like I told these guys, win one possession at a time. Don't worry about the next possession. Don't worry about the following possession that you just lost. Win one possession at a time, and I think we did that.
Up next for the Badgers, they'll host Rutgers tomorrow for a 1 o'clock tip at the Kohl Center. Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley has interviewed with the Tennessee Titans, also the Atlanta Falcons, will interview with the Pittsburgh Steelers today, and also has a few more requests in for the head coaching vacancies for a few other teams. And finally, Wisconsin football will see the transfer portal close today. Now the players' names just needs to be in, as they don't need to announce the school just yet. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in. All over the road today. All over the road. The anxiety is killing people, I think. No word out of Green Bay as of yet. One thing I do know Super Bowl, and I know who's going to be there. We're going to be there. Coming up February 2nd through the 6th, the Bill Michaels Show will be live in San Francisco. We're going to be out there covering everything in the media center, opening night, the media parties, the other parties and such that are going to be going on out there. We'll be in San Fran and Santa Clara to bring you everything. Whatever teams are there, Mike Clemens is going to be with us. Grant's going to be with us. Kate's going to be with us. We're going to be covering everything in San Francisco, February 2nd through the 6th. Listen for those shows as we do everything live out there. And the Wisco Sports Show is going to be live out there. A ton of social media is going to take place. So we're really looking forward to it. But I wanted to let you know that Packers not joining us again this year, but we will be there. The Bill Michaels Show live in San Francisco, February 2nd through the 6th. And we're really looking forward to it. It is, I think people are just getting nuts, Grant, waiting for this thing to unfold.
Correct. And it makes for good radio because we keep talking about this.
Yeah.
You were explaining something right before the end of that last hour that you should explain that one more time for people. And I know we have more phone calls to get to, but it's okay if you want LaFleur fired, or it's okay if you want the Packers to do one thing or the other, but everyone needs to realize that this is really complicated because the Packers would like to be able to probably make this choice again next year. And Matt LaFleur knows that and is actively looking for a contract that's going to make that impossible. So we're not talking about keeping or firing a coach. We're talking about firing a coach with no great options in the middle of an all-in window, or keeping him around for probably 3 or 4 more years at the minimum at probably $15 million per year, which is going to make him really hard to fire next year if they want to do it.
Right.
So that's why this is complicated. And as long as people understand that, we can, go back and forth on this for days as we have been.
And that's why I said the simple thing either way is this. If they were going to fire him, they would have fired him. That's it. If they were going to sign him to a 5-year deal and had a ton of faith and were going to pay him $15, $18 million a year, they would have done it. So the two ends of the spectrum are not that. Okay? There's only 2 scenarios here. That's it. That I believe is going on. Okay? One is that they are negotiating with Matt to what the years are going to be. Matt, I don't think he's probably quibbling over 15 to 18 million. I think he's more quibbling about 3 years versus 5 years at this point. That's
security for him.
That's security for him. And that tells everybody in that locker room, this head coach isn't going anywhere. Okay? Now, the Packers could still fire him. They could, and they just have to eat the money, right?
And then Matt LaFleur gets paid all that money
and
because coaches' contracts are guaranteed.
Right.
So LaFleur can say, well, you can fire me next year, but then you're going to have to pay me for 3 or 4 more years because that's the type of contract I would get if I was on the open market.
Here's the other aspect of this, and this is where the fans come in. There's a bunch of coaches out there right now. Bunch of them. They're all interviewing. Every day we're hearing about this coach is going here, this coach is going there. Everybody's got an idea who they want. And every day the clock ticks and your guy's not hired, you're pissed. You got anxiety. You better do it. You better do it quick. You better fire him. You better bring him back. You better do this. You better do that. Or this guy's going to be gone or that guy's going to be gone. So your anxiety is at an all-time high. You're freaking out because your person isn't there or won't be available, you feel. Ed Policy doesn't give 2 damns about your person. What Ed Policy's job is this. If they were going to fire him, they'd fire him. If they were going to hire him and keep him on for a long period of time, they would have done it. He's right now trying to figure out how many years is worthwhile to say to the team, he's going to be here, to say to Matt LaFleur, what you've done is unacceptable, and to say to other teams, if we hang on to this guy, he's not going to be traded, or if we can't come to an agreement, we want to get the most for him. And what is that coaching staff going to look like? For everybody that's in the live stream going, they got to fire Sinovich. They got to get rid of Bisaccia. You're not doing anything until your head coach is signed or until you fire him. Because the one thing you don't want to do is say, we're getting rid of this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and then you hire a coach who wants to bring him back. Now you got to you're not going to pay the guy that just went away. You got to do things a step at a time, do them well to the best of your ability, and move on. That's it. That's it. And in the case, and you brought up a good point, when Mike McCarthy got fired, Mike McCarthy was here 10 years, 11 years, something like that, I think, before it was all said and done.
Might have been like 12 or 13.
Yeah, it was a good long time. But when they looked around after Arizona and saw the stadium wasn't full, the club seats had bailed, the team had bailed, he lost the team. That's a no-brainer. That was a no-brainer. The quarterback basically wanted Mike out, made it known to people behind the walls, made it known to other players who then expressed it to us. Okay? It was divisive. It was time. And you wanted to jumpstart because you knew you were going to fire him at the end of the season. So just do it, get it over with, and that way you can start right away looking for somebody new. In this case, it's different. They're trying to not muddy the waters, so to speak, and just say, okay, this was what we expected. This was the results. And going back to Gerard's point, they were like in the midway point when it comes to injuries on their team, but they had significant injuries to significant players. It wasn't like they just lost Nate Hobbs and Evan Williams and Zane Anderson and, Jacob Monk. And, maybe they lost 7 guys to IR. But if they were all, I don't want to say insignificant because nobody's insignificant, but if they're not Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft, Devontae Wyatt, it changes things. So they lost significant pieces, much like Detroit lost significant pieces last year. So take the injury side of things out of this. So you're looking at this going, what did I see? Well, I saw an aptitude in Cleveland. I saw an aptitude in Dallas. I saw an aptitude against the Baltimore Ravens, where a team basically just didn't want to tackle Derrick Henry. I saw an aptitude in the second half of the game against the Bears. I saw an aptitude in the game against the Bears down in Chicago. Mistakes, glaring mistakes that cost us ball games. What are you going to do, Matt, to fix this? And Matt's got to have the plan in place to say this is what it is. And then you say, do you have that capability? Do I see it behind closed doors? And Ed Policy goes to practice. Mike Clemens has told us that. Ed Policy comes off the field and here comes the players, here comes the coach. There's Ed Policy. Just like Mark Murphy used to go to practice. So he's seeing behind closed doors. Is this team listening to Matt? Are they engaged? Are they not engaged? Are they listening to their assistant coaches, their defensive and offensive coordinators? Because if they're not, then those guys have to be changed. So all of that evaluation is going on right now. I really think between this second and Sunday night, we're going to hear something. And then we're all going to reconvene on Monday, and we're all going to scream and yell about who they did and didn't hire, who they didn't keep, and everybody's going to have an opinion and bitch, whine, and moan because nobody's going to be happy. Everybody lives in a fast food world. I want it now. I want it out the window. I want it hot. I want it fresh. I want it with a smile. And if I don't, I'm going to complain about it. And that's where we're at. That's it. But this season for me, I'm on record saying I've seen enough. That's it. You failed. You had it there and you failed. You didn't make an adjustment. You couldn't get guys to play above their level. It was just a failure. Did I think that they would go on and win a Super Bowl? No. But that game against Chicago, both of them, they should have won and they didn't. Games like that continually slip through your fingers, that to me is time to make a change. Now, if they hire Matt LaFleur and bring him back and they give him an extension, they give Matt LaFleur a 10-year extension. I'll root my ass off for the Green Bay Packers because I want him to be good. As a fan, I want him to win. There is nothing better. I'm telling you right now, people, one of the best. People always talk to me about what was the coolest experience. I've been doing this since 1992. Since 1992. I played ball before that. All right? I've done a lot of great things in my life. Seen a lot of good, a lot of championships, a lot of different things. All right? What was the coolest experience in your life? You know what the coolest experience, short of my kids being born? The coolest experience in my life was standing there on the sideline, looking up at AT&T Stadium, watching the clock tick. And then the Packers win, And then he started to bring out the ropes. Here comes Terry Bradshaw. Here comes Clay Matthews and Aaron Rodgers and all that. Here comes Donald Driver and him and Charles Woodson both have their arms in slings and everything and all of that kind of stuff. And then you're standing there and the confetti's flying and I've got my camera and here comes Ron Wolf because I got to know Ron over the years and he gives me this bear hug and knocks the camera out of my hand. And there is nothing better than standing on the field celebrating. And I hope to do that again. I hope that we're all standing there and it's all just fantastically freaking good. And it's just awesome. There is nothing better than that. And I hope for Matt LaFleur to be able to experience that if he ends up being the head coach for a long period of time for the Green Bay Packers. Maybe next year. Who knows? Maybe we're all at SoFi Stadium going, holy crap, they won it. But for all the ranting and raving and screaming and yelling, it's because of anxiety. It's because they got beaten. You're emotional and you're pissed and you want everybody thrown out and the baby out with the bathwater. Screw everybody. We're conjuring up, bringing back Holmgren and Nitschke and Lombardi would never do this. And it's like, you're going back to the 60s, man. It's not even relatable to go back to Bill Walsh at this point. The most recent Lombardi star era is Belichick and Brady, and they were an enigma. Sustained success in this league, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you know what you've got. And then as Patrick Mahomes, his ascension of salary became evident, you started to see piece by piece by piece by piece by piece where they weren't able to retain people. So you got to start over. You got to build it again. You know, you got to relax and you got to let it play out. And it's going to anger you no matter what they do. But you just got to relax and got to let it play out. And I find it funny that people are already ripping the hell out of Ed Policy. And Ed Policy hasn't done a damn thing. He woke up today. That's it. Because he didn't kick Matt LaFleur off at 30,000 feet and throw his ass into Lake Michigan. You're mad. You know? You're pissed. I can't believe they didn't kill him. I've had people say that. It's like, relax. Just relax. It's going to happen. I don't know what the scenarios are. There's different things. There's different things that can take place. They could trade him. They could just let him go and say we couldn't reach an agreement. They could bring him back. They could fire the entire staff. Halfley could end up saying I didn't get a job and he could end up coming back. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. Wisco Bucky says, what is this Super Bowl you speak of? You can't be that stupid. I just said Dallas, talked about Ron Wolf, Charles Woodson, and Donald Driver. If you don't know, I'm not telling you. Take the word Wisco out of your name because you're not a Wisco fan. Anyway, there you go. That's it. Anything else I missed there, Grant?
No, I think that was a pretty good rundown. I would just like to say the most redeeming part of my life, I have not had kids or gotten married or anything like that, was definitely the RV trip that we took this. I thought that's where you're going. I'm like, oh, Bill, that was very nice of you to say, but
yeah. Well, that was
Super Bowl's probably better.
That's second on my list.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if we were to do the full list, I guess you should.
Yeah.
I should have known.
Yeah. Oh.
Something about Eau Claire in June. It's just really hard to beat.
Yeah, I know, right? That was fantastic, though. I'd do that again.
Ed Policy got out of bed this morning. That is what he's done. Yeah.
That's what
and
he did.
We're hearing a lot of, to your point, references of Lombardi and Nitschke and all these guys. We're hearing a lot of calls from the Green Bay area where it's like, this franchise is, if I'm not witnessing history, it's not worth watching. Like there is I don't want to say privilege, but there is an expectation, especially from folks around Green Bay, that this franchise is supposed to be, it's more than a football team. It's,
right.
And those people are certainly going through it this week. I definitely
look, I get it. There is a level of I go back to, let me give you a brief thing. And I brought this up before years ago, and I can't remember which presidential election it was, but there's a marketing firm here in the state of Wisconsin. And the candidates, both Democrat and Republican, through this marketing firm, and this is way back when I was still working with the network, came in to the state, and there was a poll. And they talked about hot button issues in the state of Wisconsin. Okay? And the presidential candidates were going to come here, and they were going to hit La Crosse and Eau Claire and Green Bay and Milwaukee and this and that. Okay. And they said in this poll, where would you rate this? Okay. And it was a 1 to 10 thing. What concerns you the most? Education, taxes, unemployment, manufacturing, blue collar jobs, crime. the health of your community, this and that. And then they talked about things in Wisconsin you enjoy, hot button issues, okay? Before healthcare, before education, before taxes, before unemployment, before crime, before your own community well-being, the number one thing that resonated with residents in the state of Wisconsin was the Green Bay Packers. And every candidate and every vice presidential candidate that came into this state used either Lombardi, Lambeau, Rodgers, the trophies, Green Bay, Packers, something in their speeches. You saw it this past year again. All the candidates talked about, it had something relevant to the Green Bay Packers, whether it's wearing a cheese head or talking about, Lombardi striving for perfection and gaining excellence along the way. Everybody, that's the number one thing in the state. So I completely understand the passion that drives all of this. Okay? It's what brought me here. It's what gave me the idea years ago to put a network together. And we've been the biggest and baddest ever since. It's all of that. None of this works if it wasn't for the Green Bay Packers. Then you got the Brewers and the Badgers and the Bucks and everything. Okay. So I get it. It's a sports crazed state. It's better than any place in the world to live, period. Because, and again, when I would travel with the Packers years and years and years ago, we'd be in Arizona and you'd see a bunch of people out there with cheese heads and Favre jerseys and everything and say, hey, where are you from? And they'd say, I'm from Wisconsin. Nobody'd say I'm from Oostburg or Green Bay or Manitowoc or wherever. You'd say, I'm from Wisconsin. Oh, really? Where? Oh, then they'd say, oh, I'm from Middleton. Oh, okay, great. Oh, I'm from Platteville. Okay, great. That's when it dawned on me, like, this is one big happy city. That's it. So I get the passion. But today, it's like the anxiety of not knowing is driving people nuts. And every day, I think people are getting up and they're looking at their phones. And I thought about doing a piece this morning where I just woke up and said, hey, got an update on the Green Bay Packers. Nothing yet. Thanks for tuning in. And just hanging up. And I guarantee I'll get 50,000 views. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Because people are crazy right now. Just relax. Ed Policy woke up today. He's got a plan in place. He's going to work it out. Goody's going to work it out. Matt LaFleur is going to work it out. Coaches are going to work it out. Whether it's announced here in the next commercial break or whether something's announced on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, it's going to work out. You may not like it. We'll talk about it after the fact, but don't get crazy on me. So we're going to get back. I got Larry and Jack and Tim and everybody. Just hang in there. Hang in there. We're going to get to everybody because I know the phone lines are absolutely jammed. So don't go anywhere. All right? No, Thomas, I don't sound nuts. I'm trying to put sanity back into the program. That's it.
By the way, our job is to say the same stuff about the same stories for 4 hours a day, every day. Like, yeah, I feel a little crazy sometimes. Yeah. I feel a bit. But
you know what you feel like? The way I've described it, I had a guy last night, we were at a networking event. He said, how do you deal with all of that? Because he follows, right? And I said, there are times I feel like a hockey goalie where you've just got everybody on the team firing pucks at you and you're trying to kick save everything. You're trying to get to everything. And you'll forget about this one going here and you go there and it's like everybody's got something they want and they all come here, which is great because we're all just sitting around a bar and we're all just drinking and we're all just having fun. And then at the end of the day, we're all going to toast to one another and we're all going to reconvene back here. And the next time, we're just going to go from there. So it's not that people are crazy. It's that people have anxiety about it because they just want the franchise to get back on track, start striving for the division, and get back to where everybody believes they should be. So there you go. Stay tuned. We got more. Don't get crazy. Don't get crazy on me. All right? Don't.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, make it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, make it,
Welcome in.
rock it, put it in the pocket.
Bill Michaels Show.
Put it in the pocket.
Trying to bring sanity to our lives.
Hit it, make it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Yeah, yeah.
Just trying to. As we sit here and wait for... we wait for word to come out as to what's going on in Green Bay. This is the best. This is the best. Zach says, he says, Bill, I just listened to your dissertation regarding ed policy. I completely understand it, and I agree with you 100%. My question to ed policy is this. Does he not realize the anxiety we're going through? For the love of God, do something. We're going crazy. I would assume the consumption of beverages throughout the state of Wisconsin and Packers Nation has gone up dramatically in the last 48 hours and will continue to do so until we finally get word as to what is actually going on. And then after the fact, depending on what direction he goes, there will be a larger consumption on that half. So, oh, great email. I needed that. That's a great email. Yes, I do. I do think that I do think that he probably understands it. Oh my God, that's fantastic. Does he not realize the anxiety that's being created right now? I would assume he does. Yeah. You know, ed policy's right. He probably sitting in the office right there inside the walls of 1265, just kind of giggling, going, man, these people are going crazy, aren't they? I can control all of this with just this. And he's probably got like a message for the PR firm to put out. And all he's got to do is put his finger on it, hit enter. We have come to an agreement on this, or we have decided to part ways with this, and then he hits enter, and then just the world goes crazy outside of the walls of Lambeau Field. This portion of the program, and maybe the mental sanity of all of us, is brought to you by our friends at Dwayne's Cover It All, Duanes, Dwayne's Cover It All. And whether it's a boat cover or awnings or upholstery or whatever it is you need, he can do it, man. He just can. He's just that good. He can put anything together. 715-870-2119. 715-870-2119. That is Dwayne's, Duanes, Dwayne's CoverItAll.com, right here in our own backyard. Great local business that continues to expand, get bigger and better, and it's all because of you. So that's Dwayne's CoverItAll.com. So, people are coming unhinged. There you go. Let's go to Larry listening to us in Green Bay. Larry, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
I'm doing.
Go! The Gremlins got him. Larry, call us back.
Yeah, call back, Larry.
Call back, Larry. We'll get you. Larry waited a long time. Let's go to Jack listening to us in Eau Claire. Jack, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Good afternoon, Bill.
What's up?
Personally, I think LaFleur is going to be back. But the part about dragging this on, to me, I guess I can understand a little bit. What happens? He gets, there's still 7 openings left, and what if 3 or 4 of those you've got a first-year head coach that gets hired there, and if LaFleur agrees to a certain contract now, and then say 3 of them come in, they're going to be first-year head coaches, and they're going to make more money than he is after 7 years experience. Mm-hmm. Now, living in Green Bay is pretty cheap compared to these other markets. And, right. And with LaFleur having young kids, I'm sure he wants to stay there because he might be putting in 16-hour days, but he can take an hour off and go to one of his children's Christmas programs or music programs or do something, or we'll go watch him play some games in the summer. So for him, it's a great opportunity. And I think for anybody, I mean, I feel that way a lot of times because, I think Wisconsin has good school systems and all this too. And these other coaches in these bigger cities, they're there. They got motel rooms that they stay in for 2 days and then maybe go home every now and then. So I think LaFleur wants to stay here. But if I were him, I'm going to wait to see where these other vacancies. If you got 3 teams that are going to hire first year coaches, and you sign now, and I don't think he'll get more than a 3-year contract, in my opinion. But all of a sudden he signs now, and then three first-year head coaches come in there, and they're going to make more money than he is. I mean, I think that's what he's holding out for, and I don't necessarily blame him.
Well, here's the thing. I appreciate the phone call. I don't think first-year head coaches are automatically going to vault to $15 to $18 million a year. I don't. If you're going from a coordinator to a coach, unless, you're the hottest commodity out there, you're probably getting 10, 12, 15, somewhere in there, but you're not getting right away to the second-tier level without any kind of a head coaching track record. You're not going to jump to Harbaugh money. So, how do I put this? I think Matt LaFleur, like I said, I think this comes down to 2 things. I think this comes down to, 1, how many years does he want? The money, they can be $1 million apart in the money. Okay. $1 million to you and me is a huge amount. To them, it's a number, right? But I think it's the security of the years. So I am thinking that Matt wants 5. The Packers want to give him 3, 2 or 3. And he's saying, look, I can't do that. I can't do that. I've got to go to this amount and get this done if I'm going to have respectability in that locker room. Otherwise, it looks like you're just waiting to fire me. And guys then aren't sure. And I understand that. If I'm the Packers, I'm saying, Matt, here's the track record. Here's what's gone on the last few years, man. This is unacceptable. Matt's saying, talk to me about the injuries. Talk to me about certain play, about certain players. Okay, well, that's going to fall somewhere in between. And then it's going to come down to who do you want back? Who do you not want back? Yada, yada, yada. So I personally think that they're going to get a deal done Otherwise, something would have happened right now. That's what I'm thinking. So just for all the speculation, and again, going back through all the little details and the minutiae, I think they're going to get it done. Let's go to Tim listening to us in La Crosse. Tim, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Good. Bill, man, you hit about every point there is on both sides of the issue.
Oh, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm a LaFleur proponent, and you get a little tired of fans in this state that it's so easy to bitch. So easy.
Right.
And honestly, I think it goes back to April. And you look at every position group on that team. What's the worst position group on that team? We all know it's the cornerback room, and that killed them.
Right.
And it really tied the hands of Hafley as well, as far as what he could play, and that's got to get fixed. And LaFleur's a scapegoat. I mean, sure, he's the head coach. He's sitting up there, and yes, they tanked. They folded in a couple of those late games, but look at 7 points from a kicker, a dropped onside kick. There's some odd crap that happened, and someone's got to be blamed. How about the special teams? Holy balls! Fix it.
Right.
Fix it. And then the cornerback room, I just can't stress that enough. You look at if you just rank them, on the talent in a scale of 1 to 10. How much talent did they have at the cornerback position? And then how did they play up to the talent they had? They played above their talent.
Right.
That just was not a good group on the outside. It's like they had 8 safeties, playing back there.
Right. Yep.
They got to fix it. And that's where I'd start. And LaFleur, he's a stand-up guy. He's not gonna point fingers. He says the buck stops with me. It does, but Goody and him, and yes, they need a few other heads in that coaching room instead of what they have. They do. They got to get better.
I would agree with that. Again, if you're going to keep Matt LaFleur, there's some things that I think that would have to change. I know Mike, the way Mike talks is there's a lot of meaning to have Bisaccia there. To me, if you're going to run it back and you're going to say, hey, we're going to bring back all the same people, isn't that kind of condoning the same old, same old? So, I mean, there has to be some level of accountability for what we just witnessed.
Absolutely. Yeah. The coaching staff has to get better. Well,
right.
For one, you can't allow that to continue to happen. You just can't.
Exactly.
I mean, how long is he going to keep this special teams guy? He hasn't proven a thing.
Right. I'm Rich Bisaccia is the assistant head coach. There's a lot of things that he does. There's a lot of guys that really like him. I understand all of that, but I am just at some point you have to say this just can't happen anymore. There has to be a level of accountability somewhere, and that's to me where I would start. As much as people like Rich, I'm like, look, it's not gotten any better. Your job was to come in here and make this special teams better, and they have not been able to get over the ranking of 21st in the National Football League. That's unacceptable. You're in the bottom half or bottom almost every year. You can't pay a ton of money for that. That's not it. Now, if you want to look at Goody and say, hey, you got to fortify this group better, then maybe that's someplace else you have to go. But I appreciate the phone call. But I agree. There has to be a level of accountability somewhere in there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show upcoming. We'll get back into the phone calls and just got a lot of stuff to still discuss. Stay tuned.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Phil Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Phil Michaels Show. We continue on. Hey, our friends at the Social House want to remind you that they've got the Soup, S-O-U-P, Super Bowl coming up on Super Bowl Sunday. And they're doing a really cool thing. They're bringing in like a soup contest. It's a soup cook-off. And if you bring your best recipe, bring your best soup, and you can enter it in the contest. Everybody gets themselves a bowl and a spoon, and you go around and you figure out which soup is the best, and you kind of go from there. But all the proceeds are going to go to Big Unit Foundation, helping out military veterans, members, their families, and first responders as well. And we can't say thanks enough to our friends at the Social House. West Lisbon Road, Menominee Falls, right there in Menominee Falls, Brookfield, right on the edge. And if you get a chance to go in there, man, it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time. That's, again, the Social House on West Lisbon Road, Menominee Falls. Good stuff. Grant, do we want to dive into some buy or sell here?
We could. Give me 1 second to get the sound ready. If you want to take Brad in the meantime,
let's do that.
Yeah, I can get that
we'll dive into some buy or sell. People are getting crazy on me, so that's fine. People are mad too. Like let me read you a text here real quick, because I want to go through this. Because this one, where's it at? Because I just responded to the guy. He gets all upset. He said, all you seem to do is disagree with the audience, which is not true. Because I agree with a lot of what people say. I say, you're right. I say it a lot.
It sounds like you're disagreeing with the audience, Bill, when you say you don't disagree with the audience.
You disagree with their feelings on everything, which is not true. And I cut them down, which is not true. What I do is keep it real. I've always kept it real, and I will continue to keep it real. And when people come at you with dripping sarcasm just to be asses, I can be just as big an ass going back. And if you don't like that, you can listen to something else. I don't care. What we're always going to do is be real here. So period. Then he says, you go off on a tangent and rant and rave at the people who actually keep you on the air. You better learn the spirit of radio a little bit out of the 608. I think you're nuts, and I'm finished listening to you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. There you go. Don't know what to tell you. Because you don't hear something that you want to hear, I don't care. We're just going to keep it real. That's all we try to do. Great Man Mike says, I can understand what policy is doing. Packers don't need to end up like the Badgers right now with the football debacle where you can't afford to get rid of a head coach. You got to be smart about it. Cindy and Madison says, I think you're spot on with the longevity of the contract. Any way you can make it incentive based. Yeah, you can, but it's all for the successes. You can talk about winning the division. You can talk about, getting to an NFC championship game, winning a Super Bowl. Absolutely. There's incentives like that in contracts. 100%.
Matt LaFleur doesn't have to take those incentives.
He doesn't have to take them, but there many coaches have that in their contract that they can, if you do certain things. Now the problem is that you're kind of reliant upon health. I've always said my money should not be based on the performance of somebody else, but ultimately you're the head guy. You're responsible for the team. So all of that has to come into play. There was another question here that, where'd it go? Out of the 859 said, could there be a power struggle going on between Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur and Ed Policy? Well, ultimately, policy makes the decisions. I don't think there's a power struggle going on. I really don't. I really believe that this probably, for the most part, comes down to the years and the security that Matt LaFleur wants. You never want to be a guy that's looked at as you got 1 foot out the door, and I get where he's coming from.
Or feel like you're coaching with an axe hanging over.
Exactly.
Especially the year after you get an extension. If you would like to do buy or sell, we can. Otherwise, we can save it for
we're going to do it. But I also look at it and say, if you're Matt LaFleur, you have to be a realist. You have to understand what the expectations are. You have to understand what the failures are. And I get it. I mean, he's like I said, he's forgotten more football than we'll ever know. And there's a lot of reasons as to who, what, why, when, and where, why things have happened the way they have. And he can legitimize it and describe it in detail in every instance. The bottom line is there's a fan base out there that's really upset about what we've seen and the collapses we've seen and the outward criticism towards clock management and such that we've seen and heard. And there has to be some accountability in that area. You can't just say, well, I deserve this. I've always been one that if you believe in your abilities, you can say, sure, that's fine. Pay me what I'm worth, and then I'll go prove that I'm even better than that. But that's me. Let's do some buy or sell. Let's get into it.
In the world of sports, a lot of people say a lot of things.
I like where your head's at, Mike.
exploiting Pete's holes.
But what passes the big unit test? It's time for Buy or Sell on the Bill Michaels Show.
A couple of questions.
All right.
Get away from the
Let's do it.
floor of it all just for a little bit. Let me give you a divisional round one. This is something I was talking about with a buddy this morning. The Rams, they're headed into Chicago's 3.5-point favorites Sunday night. I don't know if you noticed this. In their last 8 games, they've scored 34, 37, 24, 37, 41, 45, 28, and 34. No Devontae Adams in the last 4 of those games. Buy or sell? This isn't that hard. Let's just admit what is obvious to our own eyes. Puka Nacua should be in the conversation for the best wide receiver in football.
Ooh.
I wanted to say he is the best wide receiver in football, and I backed off just to make this maybe a little bit less controversial, a little less harsh.
Jackson Smith and Jigba is fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, that's the first guy that comes to mind. The numbers this year are down for Justin Jefferson. The numbers this year are down for Jamar Chase. But you also look at the reason why and who's throwing him the football. So I don't know if I can say he's the best receiver, because if you put Justin Jefferson, put him on the Packers, put him on the Rams, Justin Jefferson's probably he's probably approaching a 17 to 1,800 yard season and 20 touchdowns. Other than a quarterback, could you say Puka Nacua is the most valuable wide receiver? Maybe go in that direction?
Probably.
I'm not going to say he's the best. I'm going to sell on him being the best because there's a lot of good names out there, and Jackson Smith and Jigba has just been fantastic for Seattle. But I could say to that offense, he is probably the most valuable. But then again, you could say the same thing about Jackson Smith and Jigba for what he's done for Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold's had a hell of a year this year, and a lot of that's due to Jackson Smith and Jigba.
He's really the only part of their passing attack.
Right.
At least the Rams had Devontae Adams for a while, but man, I watched Puka. I'm like, dude, this guy catches everything.
You know
and then
what?
he's a badass after the catch,
He's
too.
a badass, but I'll say this. Watch him run a route. He's as crisp gets. That guy runs around and he can find the hole. And that's the reason Matt LaFleur, who's their quarterback? God, I'm talking so much about Matt Stafford. That's the reason Matt Stafford trusts him so much, is because he can see where the hole is and he knows that guy's going to be in it. He's not going to run into coverage. He's going to run out of coverage or stop before he gets to coverage. And you just saw that this past weekend, as a matter of fact, on a quick inside slant where he was supposed to keep going and instead he found the hole and ended up taking it in for a touchdown because he looked like a pinball. Bang, 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 bang after the play, and then ended up scoring. He's just that good. I'm going to sell that he's the best, but I'm going to say he might be one of the most valuable.
All right. I keep playing Offensive Player of the Year odds. I'll keep looking for that while you answer this next one.
Buy or sell.
The Niners went to Philly last night, upset the defending champs. The Niners have had on their IR Bosa, Warner, Mikael Williams, their first-round pick, Bethune, their linebacker, Kittle. Trent Williams has missed time. Ayuk's been off the reservation all year.
Mm-hmm.
This guy hasn't always been my favorite, but buy or sell, we should talk about Brock Purdy a lot more.
Yes, buy it. Yes. And that's the reason I brought him up. When you look at quarterbacks that kind of willed their team this past weekend, Brock Purdy had to be one of the guys on that list. I mean, Josh Allen takes the cake. I mean, watching him do the tush push and watching a lineman pick him up and basically throw him into the end zone and banging his hand and everything that he's gone through, Josh Allen hands down. But then you saw what Drake May did. You saw what Brock Purdy did. You saw what Caleb Williams did. Absolutely. We should talk more about Brock Purdy. And let's be honest, Brock Purdy, everybody passed on that guy but the 49ers. He's now a starting quarterback. He looks crisp. He's very smart. And did you watch, and I don't know who did the piece with him. I don't know if it was a Monday night piece or what it was, but did you watch how he trains, how Shanahan trains him, where he stands between these really tall, like dummies, because he's not a big guy. So he's got to learn how to throw into the windows rather than over receiver or over linemen. Did you watch that at all, Grant? Where he stands,
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like these 7-foot dummies, and he's got to run between them and throw the football. And that's how he trained him. He trains like that every day. He has to go make throws in between these because he's not that big, kind of like what Russell Wilson used to do. And it's paid off, man. This guy's just, I'm sitting here right now watching highlights of him. Just light it up. And Brock, we don't talk nearly enough about Brock Purdy and the success that he's had and being Mr. Irrelevant and where he came from and what he's done with it since and the success. He's fascinating to me. He's a guy you kind of root for, too. He's kind of the underdog guy.
Buy or sell.
Lastly, got about 2 minutes. I watched Jags Bills last week. Looked pretty clear to me. The Jags are better. They're better players, younger, more talented. But Trevor Lawrence threw 2 picks. That was the difference to me. Now, Josh Allen is a 1.5 underdog in Denver. Buy or sell. Even though his team isn't awesome, it's fair to have expectations of Josh Allen. No Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar, no excuses. He's got to take this team on a run. I guess the better question is, how much heat do you think he should get if he doesn't? Maybe that's a better way to look at it.
Yeah. The problem is what's around him. You know? I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of the season you'd be sitting here with all those names not in the postseason, you'd be like, this is a runaway. But it's like, what's around him? This guy's willing. Let me ask you this, because I'm going to answer a question with a question. Do you think they would even be this far if it wasn't for him?
No, not even close.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the years that Rodgers used to take grief. Well, he's only 1-4 in NFC Championship games. Well, 3 of them he shouldn't even have been in.
It's very 2016-ish.
Right. He got there because of it, you know? So if they don't go any further, I'm like, I'm not crucifying a guy unless he just has a bad game. But this is probably the least talented team they've had. And look at where they're at. So, I mean, unless he goes down in flames throwing 3 picks, I would probably say if I'm in the Bills Mafia, I'm probably saying this guy deserves the credit for us just being here. And now I'll tell you this, though. If the Bills should win this weekend, do you think the Bills go on to get to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, they'd either be going to Houston, who sacked Josh Allen. I mean, that was a nasty game.
Possibly to New England.
But it'd be a popular pick, yeah.
Yeah.
Leave it there.
I think at that point in time, I'd probably say they're on their way to a Super Bowl. This to me is going to be their biggest defensive test. I mean, I know Texans are really good. Excuse me, but that's crazy. But absolutely good stuff. That's buy or sell. I know we're late for a break. Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back in. We got about a minute. We're going to get to the top of the hour. Stay tuned. I love Trav the mailman. Said that's it. Because we disagree on a few things, I'm going to take my ball and go home. What a bunch of whiners. You rock. Keep telling it like it is. Trav the mailman. Trav, you the man. And what else do we have here for you? We got all kinds of different stuff. Good day, guys. Wade in Green Bay said, I told you numerous times, been a Packers fan for most of my life since I was 6. I'm now 66. I grew up in Delaware where I got beat up and bullied because of the Packers and not an Eagles fan. Baltimore Colts, Washington Redskins, all that kind of good stuff. I put up with a lot. I'm sticking with my team. I think maybe we need to go back to the 70s and 80s when the Packers were a laughingstock for the most part and remind these so-called Packers fans what it means to be a fan and how great it is now to at least win for the most part, no matter what. I'm a Packers fan, will remain a Packers fan all the rest of my life. I'll be watching and rooting for my team. Also a big fan of the show. You guys are great. That's Wade in Green Bay. Wade, you the man. You the man. Ken says a good coach wins games he's supposed to with consistent play calling and can adjust the game plan when they have to. That's Ken in Scranton, PA. Ken, there you go. Out of the 715, real quick, says LaFleur is 3-6 in the playoffs. Finished the year on a 5-game skid. Middle of the road coach, has trouble in the playoffs. I think the trade for Parsons is a really good indicator for the all-in factor. The front office thought that they were close, needed to get closer. The injury is unfortunate, but the Packers still got a week to prepare and to come out uninspired, and they lost every game since then. 1 month with no wins, they collapsed. LaFleur is not a good enough coach to get the Packers over the top. If they can trade him, I would do it. That's out of the 715. There you go. We still got another hour yet to go. Think of that. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this. Stay tuned.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks were in San Antonio last night and would suffer their second blowout loss with the final score 119-101, falling to the Spurs. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 21 points. Kyle Kuzma had 18, but obviously it wasn't enough. Head coach Doc Rivers talks on the L.
We got our play, guys. We generated. Let me say this. Before the game, if you had told us we shot 48 threes, what would you have thought? Yeah, and we probably won the game. We didn't make them. The fouling and the missed threes, long rebounds got them out running. That hurt us. But the fouling killed us.
With the Bucks now losing 3 in a row, Bobby Portis says it's been frustrating.
Obviously, it's tough. It's disheartening, especially losing a game, but losing the way that we lost the last 2 games is very much so disheartening.
The Bucks will have the weekend off before going to Atlanta and taking on the Hawks on Monday. Turning to Wisconsin basketball, they're looking to win 4 straight when they host Rutgers at the Kohl Center tomorrow for a 1 o'clock tip. The Badgers currently sit 12-5 on the year and 4-2 in Big Ten play.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
The Steelers are the latest team to want to interview with Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley for their head coaching vacancy. Hafley has also been connected with 5 other jobs. Also, we're still waiting on what the Packers and Matt LaFleur will decide on. And finally, today is the final day for college football players to enter into the transfer portal, which more than 20 Badgers have done. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in. We got a lot to get to. This hour, Mike Clemens coming up here shortly. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for Mike. This hour of the program brought to you by our friends at Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857, right there in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Right here in our own backyard. Stick with the hometown team and stick with Stevens Point. Stevens Point Brewing. Point Brewing. They got so many different, not only seasonal brews, but they've got the staples plus the NA, the kids stuff too, the sodas and root beers. A lot of good stuff coming out of Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Point Brewing, good stuff. Man, I got a lot of stuff here. I just want to roll through all this stuff as quickly as I can. As quickly as I can. I'll get back to the phone calls coming up here momentarily. Okay. Steve says, Packers fan, cheap seats, in general, bitches of the Packers. For the love of Pete, just let it play out. It's going to get resolved one way or the other, and it's going to get resolved soon. And instead of jumping to conclusions and listening to all the minutiae that the callers and the fans bring day after day after day, it's giving me a headache. Holy blank, where's the Tylenol? That's from our buddy Steve. Steve, appreciate the email. Good stuff. Mike says, am I missing something? Has Goody's contract been extended? The combine is a month away. I am sure prepping need to take place for the scouting department, which is led by Goody. They haven't signed anything yet, but again, I would assume that this is all part of that process. And yeah, the scouting combine is the end of February. So end of February, beginning of March, right there at that end of the month. But yeah, it's right around the corner. And again, right now, getting your head coach straightened out is probably your top priority. And again, you're going to get all that stuff done here very soon. Kent and Madison. During the second half hour of the huddle on Wednesday night, I switched to watching the final LaFleur McCarron Packer show of the season. Larry didn't pull any punches, and in typical LaFleur fashion, he avoided every question, which I have to look at more tape. Needless to say, McCarron was breaking the game down on TV with the tape. From implying that he is definitely going to be back as the head coach to saying Romeo Doubs was either the number one receiver, it was like watching desperation again and again. I agree with you 100%, and I am glad the Packers are taking things slowly and carefully. The next decisions that are made will affect the Green Bay Packers and their fans for a very long time. Can't F it up. Though I feel he's a terrible communicator, and even worse, as a teacher, I won't advocate somebody just being fired, but LaFleur has to go before the team is eaten from the inside out. Yeah, you think guys like Quay Walker wants a coach who presents a confusing message and plays favorites? I think not. That is Kent in Madison. Kent, appreciate the phone call, or appreciate the email, I should say. Thank you very much. Dennis says, what is Ed policy? What is his goal for the Packers team and the organization as he negotiates with LaFleur? Is it try to build a dynasty, as his dad and Carmen Policy did with the Niners, as Vince Lombardi did with the Packers? Ed has to learn the traits and philosophies from his dad and the Packers' history, what it takes to build a dynasty. Stop with the references from the 60s. Times have changed. The reason you could build a dynasty back then was because guys didn't have free agency. You either played for me, played the way I wanted, taking the money that's given to you, or you get the hell out, and I sit you at the end of the bench and you have no life. That's it. Maybe more so from, you look at, say, what Belichick did. That's a dynasty. What Andy Reid has done, that's a dynasty. But don't give me the, I love the Lombardi history. I just do. But times are massively different. Massively different. And if you ever just sat down and listened to those guys talk about the Latin, you didn't have free agency. You had nowhere to go. You either play for Lombardi, you did it the way you wanted to do done, and he got the most out of his guys. There was an inspirational side of that coach, and then there was also a side that says, here, you want more money? And then he'd take you in the office and he'd ship you off to Cleveland or some terrible football team. You didn't have a choice. Things are just different. Is the goal to win a playoff game? Hell, LaFleur has shown that he can't do that without Aaron Rodgers to carry him. Over the past 4 years, he did win a playoff game. He won it with Jordan Love, and he won it in Dallas. Just so you know. Over the past 4 years, LaFleur has underachieved with very talented teams. He hasn't even won a playoff game, but he did. They won down in Dallas. Don't forget. Ed Policy wants to extend his contract. Extremely disappointing. Come on. Let LaFleur walk and find a coach who's driven to build a dynasty. Seeking perfection, you might achieve greatness. I agree with that. But right now, you just got to win a season and then move on. You can't think about dynasties. You can't. You got to think about winning today. And really, the best coaches are the ones that just want to win today's game, this week's game. That's it. Don't worry about down the road. Just worry about getting guys to believe in you today. It's hard enough to get a guy to play for you for 60 full minutes, right? Much less to build a dynasty. Because dynasty takes numerous players at numerous times with numerous lack of injuries. And you don't worry about that. Just worry about winning today. This one's from Anthony, who says, I think that Ed Policy is doing the right thing, albeit I would like to see a decision made to be this weekend or sooner. He says, as some of the coaching candidates begin to spin and then become less and less on the market, I think the Packers could be missing out if they do decide to make a trade. Yeah, you'd like to see something done. And I that's why I said I think something will get done relatively soon. There's still 8 jobs. Nobody else signed. The only job that's off the market right now, we believe, is going to be the Giants job at this point, right, Grant? There's nobody else left, right?
What are you asking? The only job that's been taken?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Giants, Harbaugh's, they've agreed in principle. He hasn't signed yet. But other than that, everything.
Because people are saying there's only 6 or 7 jobs. I'm like, no, there's 8 jobs available, 9 technically, but we believe that the Giants job is going to be gone. So there's still 8 jobs available. I thought I was missing something. So, and so there you go. That's it. God, we got so much. So much. Holy mackerel. There's just people crazy chiming in. Let's see here. Good afternoon. With all the craziness going on among Packers fans, why the Packers fan base one of the best fan bases in all of sports? Whether Matt LaFleur should stay or go, I cannot argue with the opinions from either side. I'm just sitting back and trusting the process. That's from our guy, Mike. Mike, appreciate it. My opinion is this. He won't turn it around. This is out of the 715. And that is the hang-up for sure. LaFleur has not earned a 5-year deal. The NFL is a results-driven league. I appreciate Policy's timetable to figure out the future for the Green Bay Packers. He said he wants championships. To do that, he is evaluating everything as a Packer fan. That's what I want. That's thanks from Rick. Rick, appreciate the text message. Dan in Janesville, what? You got to point out the wrong opinions. Okay. People got sarcasm coming through the text line. Hey, Bill, tuning in later than normal today, so maybe this point has already been made. Is it possible that the Packers organization is waiting to see what happens with Hafley before they make any decisions on Matt LaFleur? If Hafley leaves, it could be the domino effect. No, because if you wanted Matt, and I guess I'm reading into this that maybe you want to keep Hafley. But if you wanted Hafley, you'd keep Hafley. You'd make the decision. You would have fired Matt LaFleur and given the job to Hafley. You know, out of the 715, they said they'd be working on everything and ironing out all the details. I think it's going to be a contract and some coaching changes are going to be made. That's out of the 715. Do you think the Packers have their coach? If they fire LaFleur, I cannot imagine the Packers would resign or negotiate with him if they had his replacement already. I think he needs to go. Too many collapses. And at times, change is not being made. For example, if Eldon Jenkins wasn't working at center, why not moving back over to guard and try somebody new at center? They figured it out after Jenkins got hurt. My other question is that if Jenkins doesn't get hurt, are they still struggling at the center position? Because I think Jenkins would have worked out, or because they thought Jenkins would have worked out, or he should have gone over to guard. And that's Ryan in Manitowoc. Ryan, I had seen enough. I agree with you. Had Eldon Jenkins not gotten hurt, I would have, because Banks was not getting it done. I would have moved Elton Jenkins back over, brought Sean Ryan into center, and then maybe Jordan Morgan over at that right guard position to try to solidify and stabilize your line. Because then at least you would have been putting an all-pro back on his position. It could have anchored that left side of the line a lot better, but it just didn't work out that way. We didn't see, and we'll never know what their decision was going to be because they never had to make that decision, if you know what I mean. So, then we got a lot of people over on the live stream. How hard will Matt get booed if they resign him? First game should be interesting. I don't think Matt will get booed. I think there's going to be a lot of people saying, show me something. And it's not winning one or two games. That's not it.
I don't think he's going to get booed at their home opener. But as I told you last week, if they start 1-2, or 2-5 or something like that, like it's going to get loud quickly, whether or not they just extended him. But that doesn't mean he's going to get booed before any football is played.
Where the boos would rain down is if they're losing ugly at halftime or they lose a game at home they shouldn't in the same fashion. Then it'll get loud. Well, I mean, there's some fans will. They don't want him back. But I think most Packers fans will look at things and say, we'll give you a shot. There's some fans that just don't want him, and those fans are going to boo. They boo anyway, But I think most Packers fans will give it the opportunity. I mean, it's a new year. The slate is clean. You're 0-0, and you wait and see what happens. But that's what I said. If you get wash, rinse, repeat, and you bring it back and you get wash, rinse, repeat, it will get loud, fast. Because of the collapse. Martin says, had they won against the Bears, what would this week be like? We would not be talking about this. Martin, you tell me, what would your feelings be if they beat the Bears and held on to that lead and won the game, say, by 10 points? What would they do? What would your reaction be? I can't imagine it would be sitting here screaming today about firing and trading and getting rid of and not extending and on and on. I think we'd be talking about, what capability they have against a really good Seattle Seahawks team who had a week to rest. How are they going to cover Jackson Smith and Jigba? Will the real Sam Darnold please show up? I think that's what we would be talking about. I don't think we'd be sitting here today with this kind of discussion, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think that would happen. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. We got Mike Clemens is going to be coming up. And Mike will take us the rest of the way like he does on Fridays. But there's a lot to get to. We're going to kind of do some recap stuff. And in addition to that, obviously, we'll talk about the rundown of just, guys inside 1265, Ed Policy. Some of the things that he had to say, Josh Jacobs had some strong words. Tucker Kraft had some strong words. Malik Willis, he'll talk about, some of the things that, some of the mistakes they made, but then he's going to be gone. We're going to talk about the roster, all that kind of stuff. That's all upcoming. Mike Clemens is going to join us coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. This portion of it brought to you by some great people. They had a great networking event the other night down at Sobelman's Pub and Grill. They're going to do it again. I believe it's going to be on February 2nd. They're going to do a local business networking event down at Sobelman's Pub and Grill. If you're in the Milwaukee area and the surrounding counties area, but they're going to do that again because it was such a success. So many people enjoyed it. So look for that. Follow them on social media, Sobelman's Pub and Grill in Milwaukee on St. Paul Avenue for 25 plus years. In Waukesha on William Street, right across the street from La Estacion. But it's a great place to go get burgers, get a Bloody Mary, watch a game, maybe drown your sorrows a little bit too at this time of year right now. So check out our friends, our good friends down in Sobelman's Pub and Grill.
Sobelman's.
Milwaukee and Waukesha.
Truck drivers, no matter where you want to take your career in 2026, Schneider has an opportunity for you. Our huge selection of driving jobs means you can get the home time that suits your schedule. Choose from daily, weekly, monthly, or sometime in between. Looking for more reliability on the road? Check out our new dedicated and regional van truckload opportunities. Don't miss out. Find your perfect driving job today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
4 years. That's enough time to get a college degree, to serve a full term as a president, to train for something big, and become someone new.
You bet, and get 0% interest for 4 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, so you can invest in your home and in life's biggest moments. With exclusive features and customizations, Pella offers the highest quality products at a price you can afford.
Aim high when setting your New Year's resolution, and imagine what you can do in 4 years when you finance your home project with Pella. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Rock a big win this January at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. Don't miss your chance to win a share of $60,000 in prizes every week. Just play with your rewards card for entries. Prize drawings on Thursdays. Plus, your January drawing entries all roll into an even bigger prize drawing in March. Rock on all month long, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The Packers, the entire organization really exists for three things and three things only, and that's to win football games, to keep the Packers in Green Bay, and to strengthen our community. So I'll be really focused on those three things, and the next big thing will be a kind of a culmination of all of them. I mean, we will continue, first and foremost, to focus on fielding a very competitive football team that's hopefully competing for championships. On the keep the Packers in Green Bay, the big things there will be continuing to maintain and evolve Lambeau Field so that it remains not just iconic, but also state-of-the-art. And then we do have to continue to strengthen our community through things like Titletown, other philanthropic efforts, and just all the community involvement that we have.
Those are the words of Ed Policy. This portion of the program brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Bay Motel family restaurant right next door, only a mile from Lambeau Field. Homestyle cooking 7 days a week. Go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That is baymotelgreenbay.com. So glad to have you on board today. That's our friends at the Bay Motel all the time. Bring you our good guy, Mike Clemens, joining us on the hotline. Michael, how you doing today, man?
Pretty good. I had a chance to talk to Ed shortly after he was going to be taking over the job, and they had us meet up in one of the luxury suites overlooking Lambeau Field. This was before the Micah Parsons deal went down, but it was, you know, as I look at what's going on today, is that after the Micah Parsons trade, won't this be, in terms of what happens with LaFleur and that structure, the first most important decision Ed Policy is going to make as the president and CEO of the Packers, right?
Right.
So, yeah, you know, I talked to him about, you know, he's joined the team in 2012, and I said, you know, so when Mark Murphy changed the structure of the organization to go from the Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson model to say, listen, the general manager, Brian Gutekunst, reports to me. Matt LaFleur, head coach, reports to me as president and CEO. And the vice president, Russ Ball, who's in charge of the finances, they all now, they work together, they report to me so we don't have those silos. Listen to what Ed said about when that all went down when McCarthy was fired.
Yeah, well, I was with Mark. I was in the room with Mark when he decided to make that change. And, you know, I think he made it for sound reasons. And I think it's worked out well so far. I really do. I think we've got three excellent people in football leadership positions right now, and they're all working extremely well together. So you just can't argue with results. I think it's worked. I would continue to keep that structure for the time being and continue to keep those three individuals in their current roles. You know, we've got flexibility. If we ever feel that structure is not working for us, we can certainly change the structure to whatever form we think would be best. Ultimately, we're here to do what's best for the Green Bay Packers organization, so that's what we'll do.
Mike, we know that there is for years, we just took for granted the Packers were going to win the NFC North. And even if they didn't, who cares? Because it was all about getting to a Super Bowl. Now it's been a while since they've won the North. It's been a while since they've advanced in the postseason. It's getting back. And then Policy knows this. He saw this going back to the beginning of the season, specifically with the coaching changes that have taken place and the coaches that have ascended in the NFC North. He knows where they're at right now.
Yeah, and so does Goody, because, you know, it was a year ago at this time that when we sat down for about an hour with Brian Gutekunst in a conference room in Indianapolis going into the Combine, he said, you know, we lost our last three games. So, you know, we're not only just talking about, gosh, you came up 22-10 short to the Eagles. And, of course, that team went on to win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But, you know, what do you guys need to do to get over the hump? And he was talking about the offensive line. Elton Jenkins got hurt in that game. Things broke down, and they were never the same. So they went out and got Aaron Banks, the big money there. They re-signed Zach Tom at right tackle. He ended up having an injury-filled season. Both those guys did. And then you lose Elton Jenkins at center with a fractured fibula and torn ligaments. And then you've got all those decisions you got to make. So, you know, you ask Ed Policy about, you know, here you're taking over the reins now, and the Lions now have Dan Campbell. And the Vikings have Kevin O'Connell, pretty good coach. And now this Ben Johnson is coming on to the Bears. And here's what Ed Policy said.
You know, it's pretty exciting because I don't think the entire NFL has ever been more competitive than it is right now. And I think our division is not only the most competitive division in football right now, but maybe in the history of the NFL. So I think it's exciting. I think we've got our work cut out for us, but so do they.
Mike, I appreciate all the references today and going, back to where people talk about you got to be like Lombardi, you got to be like this, you got to go back to the Bill Walsh days when Carmen was running the 49ers, and times have changed. Things are a lot different. I mean, what you do is you go and rely upon your experience and what you've seen, and you can see how things are constructed and how they're built. But it's very difficult to just say, go do that in today's day and age of football.
Yeah, and Ed, who's 55 now, so that means he could, if the rules stay the same, if he has to retire at 70 like Mark Murphy did last summer, he's got 15 years now to run this franchise. He's built his whole life to it. His father, Carmen Policy, took over as president of the 49ers at a critical time, just as they were starting with the Bill Walsh and Joe Montana era.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there for that run through the 90s. And then he gets hired when an Al Lerner buys a franchise and is able to reestablish the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. So he's working. This is Ed's dad now. Ed's running the Browns and trying to recreate the magic that they had done with the 49ers. So he's hiring coaches, he's hiring GMs, etc. And then Al dies, the owner dies. And then the son takes over, and who knows nothing about football, and then says, I'll buy back your share, Ed, or Carmen, which was like 10% of the team. Then they hired kind of a hack of a coach, Butch Davis, I think it was. This is like the early 2000s. And Carmen Policy had brought in a GM that had the great 49ers scouting, program to try and beef up the Browns roster. The coach and the GM got into a fight, and it finally, Carmen Policy just said enough, and he walked out of the Browns. He cashed out and started a vineyard in Napa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where your new president comes from. That was his father's experience. And I asked him about what led to him getting this job with Mark Murphy as his assistant starting back in 2012 and now taking over the Packers.
So at the time, as you'd pointed out, I had a background in professional football, and I was working for the National Football League after the Arena Football League as a consultant. And my dream was to work for a team, though. And at the time, I had a short list of about 5 teams that I would love to work for. Now, there are only 32 of them, so you pretty much go where the work is. But there were 5 that I'd really be excited about joining, and the Packers were one of them. The Packers happened to have an opening. I didn't know Mark Murphy at the time, but Mark was going to be in New York, and he had hired a search firm. He had hired a gentleman named Jed Hughes to help him with this recruitment. And when Mark was in New York, I interviewed with him at his hotel, and we hit it off, and I was here a few months later.
He's been around a while. That's the other thing. People are saying, well, this is when you talk about his decision about this is brand new to him. Like, no, he's been here for a long time. He's seen how this organization works. He's moving like an iceberg, which is what you expect. And you talked about it the other night, Mike, when you were here with me. So this is kind of what, if they were going to fire him, they would have fired him. If they were going to give him the 5-year extension and just say, all of it be damned, they would have done that already. So there's somewhere in between that they're working on, and we'll probably find out either later today or over the weekend. But this is not new to Ed Policy just because he's all of a sudden the president. He's been around a long time through a lot of these decisions. He's seen it all.
And like Mark Murphy, both guys, attorneys.
Yeah.
They're contract guys,
right.
Detailed guys like that. So that when you're going to build a new building in the Titletown district, and you look over that, your president can read the contract and see any loopholes when you're, spending millions of dollars with some construction company, or to hire people to execute that. And listen how he got his job from what? A headhunter.
Yeah.
Mark Murphy had hired an NFL headhunter. And don't you think that, when you take over now, after Mark Murphy steps down, you get your own headhunter to say, okay, if I need a new GM, if I need a new head coach, who do I get? And these guys are out there and they're tracking. So you've been monitoring this all fall. And at some point you made your decision, whether it was a great game against the Steelers or not so good game against the Ravens,
right.
As to, all right, here's the challenges that this coach is facing. And here's where I think we could, Brian could still help him roster wise. And here's the results that I see at the end of it. But, and so right now, as I said, I think he let LaFleur make his evaluations, do his exit interviews. probably already had his mind that LaFleur's the guy that he wanted. But now what's best for the team? Well, you don't want to get LaFleur into a 5 or 6 year deal because you're not sure. LaFleur, on the other hand, is probably saying, no, if you want me, I want a long deal. I want that next wave of players to come in to believe I'm the guy, and they're going to be working for me for the next 4 or 5 years. And that's the plan to get to a Super Bowl. And I want at least $15 million a year, which is what these guys are getting.
Right.
You know, the Journal Sentinel reported that guys like Sean Payton are up to $18 million a year as a head coach in the NFL, which is what the college guys are going. That's the stuff they're probably arm wrestling over today.
Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. Mike Clemens on the line. He'll take us the rest of the way. Stay tuned. It's this time of year where you're looking out the window and thinking also it's going to get really cold this weekend. It's going to be cold for a long time. Maybe you want to go someplace warm. Get a hold of our friends Melissa and Michael at Dream Vacations. Dream Vacations. Call them anywhere in the state. 414-208-4221, whether it's a cruise or maybe you want to go to a resort, an all-inclusive. Maybe you're thinking about heading out to Arizona for spring training, checking out the Brewers. You can do that too. They can hook you up. Let Michael and Melissa help you plan and book your next amazing getaway. That's Dream Vacations. 414-208-4221. 414-208-4221. We'll be right back.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We did some good stuff. I think there's highs and lows this season. We played well, and then we played not very well. We dropped a couple games that I think we had, and I think obviously ending the season the way we did is just disappointing. I think we look back on it. I think we did some good stuff in the NFC North and improved, and that was something that we was a goal for ours coming into the season after what we did the year before. But I still think there's more room.
The words of Jordan Love. Unfinished business going into next season. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends Marquardt RV. Man, do they pride themselves on, and there's going to be a lot of RV shows coming up. They pride themselves on their service, and if you are out and about and you get a chance to go to some of them, man, look for our friends at Marquardt RV. Tell them you hear it here, and just see if they don't take care of you the way they took care of us and the people that we had a chance to see. I was out at the Columbus store numerous times this year, and just fantastic the way they treat their guests and their customers and such. So whether it's something small, maybe your first little travel trailer, little pop-up tow behind, or you're going all the way into a Tiffin or a Thor motor coach, whatever it happens to be, they got something for everybody, and they take care of you at every point of that purchase process, and all informationally too. So if you're out there gathering information, they'll help you out. That's our friends at Marquardt, MARKQUART, locations all throughout the state of Wisconsin. MarquardtRV.com. That is MarquardtRV.com. Our guy Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline, and Mike, you hear there from Jordan Love, talking about how this season pretty much done. And now, it's whether or not you're going to have the same head coach and what they're going to do to run it back. And there's guys that were banged up that are looking forward already to next year. And, there was some strong words coming out of the locker room the other day. And here, let me say this, Mike. You talk to these guys and you look them in the eye. So some guys will say, yeah, it's great to have the coach back and this and that. And you can tell if they're blowing smoke. A lot of these guys are genuinely serious about bringing Matt LaFleur back, correct?
I think so. But as I told you last week, before the game, there was an uneasy feeling. And, first of all, it'd been a month since game balls had been handed out, and the confidence was not there.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted it. And, I know there's one player, and I think I know who it is, but who told another source of mine after that Ravens game, and they're, just had their lights punched out. Like, what's going on? I mean, what do you think? What's next? And they had that game against the Vikings, which they probably already knew since they clinched. They were told on Thursday before the Ravens game that you're going into the playoffs. The players said, "Well, I'll tell you, we'll probably lose next week, and then we'll lose the week after that. First round of the playoffs, and then we'll go home." Like it was that flat for that particular person.
Mm-hmm.
And that could just be 15 weeks without a break of football and the body talking and that kinds of thing.
Right.
Matt LaFleur comes into an organization where clearly the message from McCarthy had gotten stale. The coaching staff was not happening. And he comes in and he goes 39-10 and takes them to the NFC Conference Championship twice. He gets Aaron Rodgers back on board to the point where, he gets 2 MVPs. And then he's there to see the light that, it's time to move on and get Jordan Love and develop Jordan Love over 2 or 3 years. Hell, he developed Malik Willis, who the Titans pretty much gave up on.
Right.
So he's developed, that's his track record. Now he goes 30, 37, 30-1. In the last 4 years, it's like one and done every year. He flipped the card on, only having one division win last season to, 4-2 in the division this year? 4-3 if you consider, the loss like Saturday night. And then you go to guys like Josh Jacobs who will tell you straight and say, should LaFleur be back as your head coach next year, Josh?
I see him, put in extra work every day, and I know what he means to the players. So, speaking for myself, I'm going to stand firm on, wanting them to be the head coach and wanting them to figure something out with him.
So, yeah, he's a guy that's like, you see the work that he does. You see what he does behind the scenes. Yes, there's some of those guys that want to see him come back.
When these guys get injured, like Tucker Kraft and the torn ACL, it's so kind of eerie because about a day or two later, the equipment manager pulls all this stuff from the locker, and it's an empty locker. It's almost like memoriam when you have this season-ending injury. There's no helmet, no shoulder pads up there, and it goes empty. That locker goes empty for months because the guy is now working on full rehab, and he might be at home.
Yeah.
And it turns out he stayed in Green Bay. So to have Tucker Kraft in the room the other day spoke volumes because he wanted to talk. And you realized how much the team was missing, not only on the field as a blocker, as a receiver, as a ball carrier, as a weapon, but also a team leader. And Tucker Kraft was asked, should LaFleur remain the head coach of the Packers?
Well, I don't think there's anyone else that, how complex of an offense that we run. Well, first I'll start off with Matt. Matt's been nothing but generous to me, my wife, and my family since we've been here. Constant communication with me ever since I was a rookie. He's just trying to get the best out of each and every one of his players. And he comes in with the right mentality every single day to coach us up to be the best version of ourselves for the best legacy team in the NFL. I don't think there's another coach that could come in and do it as well as he does it, especially with the complexities that are in this offense. When you get players that get into year 3 in this offensive tree, like the offensive knowledge that we retain year after year, it's only getting better here. I think Matt's an outstanding head coach. There's no doubt in my mind that he'll remain here as a Packer. I think a lot of that talk is pretty silly, but yeah.
What, Mike, you look at a guy like Tucker Kraft who had a chance on the outside looking in to watch this thing kind of unravel, so to speak. And I would assume a guy like, Tucker Kraft, and just listening to him and what he wanted to do and what he thought he was on the verge of kind of conquering this year, he probably had a lot of opinions about what needs to happen this offseason for things to get back to good.
Yeah, and you asked Tucker, so besides the rehab, what else have you been doing? Watching these games, watching this tape, watching the opponent, trying to help out the other tight ends when I can. Well, how do you explain getting run over by the Ravens at your home field, or giving up 25 points in the fourth quarter Saturday night against the Bears at Soldier Field in a playoff game? In a game that everybody had your team picked as the favorite, and you say, where do you think the Packers fell short this season, Tucker Kraft?
I hate to be an excuse guy, but we just need everyone healthy. We had all the pieces, guys coming in off free agency, plugging and playing, and just to see guys take charge of their opportunity. We saw a lot of young guys step up too, a lot of young D linemen. But just seeing the hunger, it reminds me of my rookie year when we brought in a lot of offensive playmakers, and we were 7th seed going into Dallas with the youngest team in the NFL. Not an excuse anymore. You have to wake up that mentality every single day. 365 days a year, you're a National Football League or professional athletes. And your body is your own corporation, where you're a living, breathing business. So I think each guy has to take it upon themselves, hold themselves accountable to coming back and being their most spectacular self, because we're going to need it. I mean, obviously, we'll come up short again every year I've been here. So I have less words this go around, just because, I didn't necessarily feel like I contributed full season lengthwise, but I was missing it.
Yeah, that's a guy that wanted to be out there kind of helping things get better, not, watching it all fall apart. And then obviously you got a guy like Malik Willis, who many people really kind of came to enjoy over the last couple of years. He's going to be gone as well. They're going to be looking for a backup quarterback along the way.
Yeah. And let's talk about who's going to be a free agent. Let's start with the kicking game and Brandon McManus, who suffers a quad injury at a practice and then, is down for 2 or 3 weeks. And then never quite, he comes back, but he misses those clutch kicks in the playoff game and the point after. He's going to turn 35 in July. Are you going to move on with that? And Daniel Whelan, the punter, best punter in the league, but underutilized. Too many times you got LaFleur going for it on 4th and 1, even in his own territory. Why not get back to field position? Trust your defense. Get the ball 60 yards and let your defense go out there and get the ball back for you, rather than not being able to convert on 4th and 1. At left tackle, Rasheed Walker, 26 years old. Are you going to pay him, or is he just average, and are you going to move on to Jordan Morgan, the left tackle? And Morgan made some mistakes playing right tackle. Aaron Banks at left guard was injured the first half of the season. You paid him a lot of money. Sean Ryan did a pretty good job at center. Elton Jenkins is coming back from a fractured fibula and torn ligaments at 30 years old. Are they going to move on from him? And Belton at right guard, I thought, did a pretty good job. But Zach Tom, right tackle you paid, he goes down in that Denver game as well as Micah Parsons. He's got a partially torn PCL. That could take 6 months for him to recover. Offensive line is going to be something that they're going to have to reinvent all over again, a year later. And then when you talk to Malik Willis, remember, he got to start against the Ravens. The Ravens were a playoff caliber team that ended up firing their coach after 18 years. I said, what happened in terms of the mistakes in the loss to the Ravens at Lambeau Field?
There's just too many to even name. We have to be honest watching the film, and when you can hold each other accountable, that's when you have a sign of a good team and guys that can fix the mistakes. I think that's what this locker room has, a lot of guys in here like that.
Mike, next year they're going to rely upon the leaders, a guy like Tucker Kraft, Micah Parsons, certainly, to come back and kind of help elevate things. And they're going to need to because, like you said, there's going to be a lot of holes to fill. And it's going to be interesting to see with the salary cap issues on this roster, what's going to actually happen. But I got to think that Micah Parsons saw all of this as well and said, you don't want to have the 5 straight losses, man. You got to elevate this thing, and it's got to be consistent all throughout the season. They got to learn how to close out games.
Man, I'll give this squad credit because usually, empty your locker days are just 2 or 3 guys and they're throwing stuff into a black bag. Most of the team was there. They wanted to talk, including Micah Parsons, number 1, and all that money you paid him and the big deal. And now he's not going to be back until September, maybe October, coming back from that left knee torn ACL. And so Micah was asked, what do you plan to do then as a team leader in the 2026 season?
I'm looking at the effort of the guys. I'm looking at, how guys are playing. Are we blocking? Are we getting off blocks? Are we attacking? Those are the things that as players we can control. And I think more people need to realize that. You can do your job in the league. If someone says, hey, contain the edge, you can just sit outside and make sure no one gets outside, or you're going to get off the block and make a play. So sometimes it's not about what position the coach puts you in. It's about what position you put yourself in. And that's type of reality that, and mindset that I want to bring to this team.
Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline, and he'll take us the rest of the way. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at DJ's Goalpost. If you're heading out this weekend, maybe catch some of the divisional games. I know it's disappointing the Packers aren't there, but whether it's going next door to the golf simulators or right into DJ's side where they've got like the sports memorabilia museum with all the bobbleheads and the helmets and the jerseys and the bats and the balls and everything that they have there, including the great food and the awesome staff. They're right there in Menominee Falls on Appleton Avenue. Don's a great guy, just a great guy, tremendous person, and I highly recommend it. And TVs, oh my God, he's got TVs everywhere, just like a whole bank on every wall just of television, so you can always catch sporting events and whatever happens to be happening that day. So check out DJ's Goalpost, Appleton Avenue, Menominee Falls. Tell them we said hi.
Truck drivers, no matter where you want to take your career in 2026, Schneider has an opportunity for you. Our huge selection of driving jobs means you can get the home time that suits your schedule. Choose from daily, weekly, monthly, or sometime in between. Looking for more reliability on the road? Check out our new dedicated and regional van truckload opportunities. Don't miss out. Find your perfect driving job today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to use it as fuel. I mean, there's no other way to, first of all, you got to acknowledge it and accept it for what it is, and then try to find ways to learn from it. But I think ultimately you got to use it for fuel. I mean, this one stings, and it should sting, and it should sting for a long time.
It does. Ask any Packers fan. Speaking of Packers next year, we are so excited. Home Field, Pub and Social. The restaurant, Top Golf, all the simulators they have in there. A terrific spot inside Titletown. That is the official home of the Green and Gold postgame show. We signed a deal with them, and we cannot wait to get there with the burgers and the food and the curds and everything that goes along with it. That is going to be the postgame site for the Green and Gold postgame show. We're also going to kick things off coming up here probably in March. We might do some March Madness stuff up there as well, but really looking forward to it. Glad to have a Home Field Pub and Social on board all season long. Good stuff. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline. And Mike, I got to say, I mean, I thought we might have a decision by now, but over the weekend, it's probably going to be a little bit interesting to see what shakes out. I can't imagine talking about the same thing on Monday with no decision, but we'll have to wait and see. But now it's whether or not if they work out a deal with Matt LaFleur, can he take the next step and can he ultimately get him to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, is it a thing where it's sort of a done deal? It's just that Trace Armstrong from Athletes First, who is LaFleur's agent, is busy working on, this is their busy time of year.
Yeah.
And I got to do that Harbaugh Giants thing. I know he's got Matt Nagy who's interviewing, and Ryan Poles, the GM of the these guys, and McCarthy has been his client too, and Matt LaFleur is Trace's client as well. So there's that happening. But, the other day, there we are in the Packers' new locker room, about 20, 25 of us, credentialed reporters, some photographers, and Micah Parsons walks in the room. And so after we have this 20-minute conversation with him, we ask him point blank, do you think LaFleur could get you to a Super Bowl as the head coach?
Yeah, I believe so. I've had my fair share of coaches and people around this league that I've been around, and Matt's one of the best guys and people, like as a person, I've been around since I've been in this league. I reached out to him when I started seeing this, and I said, man, when I agreed to come here, like, you were part of the reason why I came here. I want you a part of this, and, I love you, and, I think you're a great coach, and, he appreciated those words, and we had a brief conversation, but Matt is, I think he's a great guy. And I just think he cares so much. Like, he cares so much about the players. Like, I don't think people realize that. Like, and you could get spoiled with good coaching and good people, and you don't realize until they're gone. And I don't want to be at that point where we realize, like, damn, we let such a great coach go. Because at one point, the players got to, like, Like, you talk about do your job, right? You talk about coach. I mean, the team put up, how many points they scored? 27 points. A playoff game, I always told you, if my team puts up 21 points, we should win that game. Put up 27 points, and we missed 6-7 on special teams. That's a 34 points. And you're talking about you want to get rid of a coach. At one point, players have to have accountability. And that's something that, I'm challenging us, and that's players that we need to take. We need to have accountability. How do we let that game go? Coaching can only do so much. It's about timeouts and X's and O's, great. But sometimes it's about playing football at the same time.
Mike, I got to think that come Monday, we're talking about decisions that have been made.
I would hope so. I'd sort of like to get my life back. But, how about Parsons?
Right?
How about Parsons? That guy is the real deal.
Yep. Without a doubt. Mike, have a great weekend. Relax, unless, of course, something happens and there's a presser. But relax, and then we will talk again next Monday, okay?
I do have a bag packed. Thank you, Bill.
There
Michaels.
you go, bud. Talk to you soon. There you go. Great stuff. We made it through the week with no announcements. Now we wait and see what happens over the weekend. Grant, good luck. Maybe it breaks right before your show tonight,
Oh, God help us. For the fifth straight night, I'm going to put a new spin on an old classic. Should Matt LaFleur still be the coach of the Packers? We're going to find another way to spin this for 2 more hours.
Okay. I look forward to that. Until we talk again Monday, 10 a.m. Central Time, just enjoy the week.